Fit like in, folks. Welcome back to Bru Time. Now, this week we've got Jamie Robinson from MotoGeo on. We recorded the first part of this a few weeks ago, but I'm afraid I left Zoom and I moved to a new platform called Riverside because I was wanting the 4K sort of footage. To be honest, I've had nothing but technical issues with using Riverside, so I've cancelled that and I've moved back to Zoom now. We had to record this podcast in two separate stints. We had the same issues with both. So I've had to rely on the lower quality sort of cloud storage issues. The audio should be absolutely fine. Well, it is pretty much fine. The video, after about 20 minutes in both sessions, goes a little bit blocky. But if you're listening to this, it shouldn't be an issue. If you're watching the vid, look at my face instead. Hope you enjoy it, folks. It really is a good chat, even though I say so myself. Episode 175, Jamie Robinson. Ready to rock and roll.
There we go. Fresh brew. We're all good now.
Awesome. Hope you don't mind. It's 5 o'clock on a Friday
yeah,
here,
dude,
so
cheers.
I've got a beer on the go. Slange.
Yeah, not wrong with that. Not wrong with that.
Right, Jamie. Welcome to Bru Time.
Yeah, and I'm having a brew as well, so thank you.
Good lad. I don't know if you've seen or listened to any of these. The way I normally run it is first half of the podcast is us having a chat, finding out a little bit about you, and what's brought you to where you are. This podcast is all about my sort of live your life ethos, I like to find out about the people behind the characters and the personas and the companies within the motorcycle and travel industry. And then once we do that, I have a Patreon, so go to Patreon and onto my socials. I post up on there and say who the next guest is. People have got the opportunity to leave questions, and then we go through them. They can be quite random, so
yeah, don't worry.
All right, I should have asked this. How long do you have?
As much time as you need, dude.
You might regret that. Okay.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
I've had Mossy on here. Do you know Mossy?
Yeah.
Chris Moss,
the guy can talk, can't he? We all like talking about ourselves, so I'm sure that's probably why. Yeah, I've got some time. I've made some time for you, buddy, so we're all good.
Awesome, mate. Thank you very much. So, can I throw the floor open to you first of all, Jamie Robinson, MotoGeo? Who are you?
Hey, buddy. How am I?
No, who are you?
Who am I?
Who is MotoGeo?
MotoGeo is basically my YouTube channel and also my Instagram, I suppose, also where I just throw out my content to inspire people to take up motorcycling for whatever reason. I've been blessed to be given the opportunity to ride a motorcycle when I was a kid. It was a lot of fun. I was then lucky enough to race them, and then after my racing, lucky enough to then start to travel on them. And once I started to travel on them, I just loved it. I really did. And I wanted to document what I was kind of seeing and feeling, and hopefully that could at some point change somebody else's opinion about motorcycling and take it up. So MotoGeo has always been about trying to inspire people to ride.
Awesome. I love people like you that come on here. I have people who have done these amazing things in their lives and they skirt totally over it. And it's just right. You mentioned that you've pedaled a bike a little bit in the past. I mean, you're former 250 British champion, you were 250 GP, you've done the TT, you've ridden Pikes Peak. I mean, let's rewind a bit.
Yeah, I've been lucky.
And a half.
Well, thank you. But, I've just been lucky. I was, like I said from the beginning, I was put on a motorcycle, not necessarily put on one, but given the opportunity to ride one with my dad, and he just progressed from there. And nothing ever really came close to that feeling of riding a motorcycle, no matter what I did in life. So I was always drawn to the motorcycle for whatever reason, even if school said it was a bad idea or everybody else around me told me it was a bad idea, or all of the negatives that anybody said. the positives always far outweighed what they were on about. So
Yeah.
I was always drawn to two wheels. And then my childhood was all really based around two wheels. You know, it was just my obsession, you know. And
Did you have that stereotypical upbringing then of, you know, like riding down the country tracks and tearing around on bikes like kids used to do back in the day? They just don't seem to do it anymore.
Yeah, I was even luckier. I grew up on a farm, so I had access to land out in my backyard and a motorcycle. So my dad, you know, the neighbours didn't like it because everyone complained about the noise. And, you know, so I didn't really get the opportunity sometimes to ride my, because I got into schoolboy motocross and those things are loud. So I totally get it. But, you know, a little 4-stroke or a trials bike, I'd just ride it until the gas ran out. You know?
And your dad was a racer, wasn't he? Was he rode the TT?
Yeah, I mean, my obsession of two wheels is all spurred from my dad's obsession, really, with the motorcycles. You know, and it's hard not to get that feeling when you're watching your dad from a fence and your dad racing when you're a kid.
Wow.
And then being there just to put the stand under the bike or the block of wood under the engine, and you'd be there with him, helping him push start, and those single cylinder 500 gold stars that my dad used to ride. I mean, those things have got one heck of a kick, right? And that is a big pulsating engine, and the ground vibrates, and it's such an incredible feeling that's running through your body as a kid, just being around, like even Parc Ferme or the collection area, there'd be like 20 gold stars revving up, and dude, it was insane, you know, and the smell of that Castrol R is like nothing else. And so like, I grew up just with 2-stroke and 4-stroke fumes, basically.
The smell of gasoline. All that. Yeah, I missed all that because I was really late to bikes. I didn't pass my test and start riding till 2008. So I was 32 when I passed. So I missed all that.
Yeah,
you know, I missed the whole. And all I hear from people who are like, you know, bikers through and through and been doing it since they're kids, everyone has that misty, glowy eye when they talk about the 2-strokes and the smell. I feel like I missed out.
Yeah, I mean, it's just some of the most kind of incredible smells that I will smell, you know, now and again. Sorry about my dogs if they're barking.
Sorry, mate, no worries. Mine does the same.
One of the things there would be, you know, like going on the back of my dad's 500, going to watch the Isle of Man TT. And I was like 7, 8 years old, and that smell of turning up at Heysham and the smell of just the port and getting on the ferry and everything in between, of, you know, the motorcycle fumes. Excuse me 1 second.
No problem.
Oi.
This week we are supported by Dual Bike Training. Dual Bike Training offers bespoke motorcycle coaching that suits your needs. Based in the Northwest, Dual Bike Training can offer anything from back-to-biking refreshers to full on-road coaching programs built around you. Find Dual Bike Training at dualbiketraining.co.uk. That's Dual, Jewell, biketraining.co.uk, or on X as at Dual Training and Instagram at Dual Bike Training. Neil holds all the top advanced motorcycle certificates from ROSPA, IAM and BMF. He also volunteers for Cheshire Bike Safe. He's a qualified lecturer in engineering, so you're going to be in safe hands. Have a read of his testimonials at the website dualbiketraining.co.uk/testimonials. Ride smoother, faster, sharper. A massive thanks to Dual Bike Training for your support.
I'm really sorry about that, dude.
Mate, no problem. Don't worry about it. I have the same with mine.
I'm sorry.
I have the same with mine. My wife's taking mine for a wander just now, but
hopefully you can cut this bit out.
Yeah, sorry. No bother.
We'll cut this bit out and then we'll get back into it. Sorry about that. Yeah, you know, and then also that, like I said, the collection area of my dad's racing, because my dad used to race 500 Gold Stars, and the smell of that was just incredible. And then I used to race schoolboy motocross on a weekend, and the smell of that two strokes also at the starting line. I mean, I'm surprised we all didn't pass out through all the fumes and stuff, you know. And but it's just incredible, really. You know, it's like anything. Those memories of smells and that trigger memory of what it all is, and you know, lots of that really just stemmed from my dad and me then being as a kid and getting my obsession from him.
I listened to your chat with Dave Neal on the Off Track podcast.
Oh yeah, Dave's a good guy,
and it seems a really nice lad. I'd love to get him on here for a chat, actually, because again, he sounds like he's had a life or two. It was interesting to hear what you said about, because when you raced the TT, it was like you'd fallen out of love with bikes, and it sort of reignited the fire again with you.
Yes, that's exactly what happened. Look, I got into racing through my love of motorcycles.
Yeah.
But then once you start racing and then start progressing in the ranks, which I did.
Yeah.
And I don't know, you start
politics comes in. And
well, not just that, but it becomes a job.
Yeah.
And I didn't get into motorcycling for a job, even though I really dreamed to be one day, pretending that as a kid I could once maybe be a motorcycle racer. I never thought it'd happen. And then so when I got the opportunity for maybe it to happen, I just threw myself at it. And then that's an obsession in itself, because once you decide to do it, there's no backing out, really. You've got to wholeheartedly go into it, right?
Yeah.
Because it takes everything. Any motorcycle racer will, or even professional sportsman will understand it takes everything from you. Even when you don't have it to give, you've just got to mentally go there and physically go there, and then hopefully that one day you'll be in a position to win, right? So this is just from yourself on every level, and it takes a lot. And then that's also from the team. It takes a lot from a team and everybody around you. It's a real team effort. And if you've just one bit of it that's a weak link, you're not going to win. It's a very competitive sport. It's very expensive. A lot goes into it. And then on top of that, it's pretty dangerous, and you can get injured pretty easily, especially when you're going really fast and you're pushing to win, right? So it's a double-edged sword. And I guess through it all and breaking as many bones as I did and crashing and, having some difficulties, ups and downs, it just takes its toll. And I found at the end of it all, I really wasn't even enjoying riding a motorcycle, really. I just, there was so much that was on the line. I was running my own team at the time with the help of my parents, and we were financially buried in it. And that in itself puts so much stress on yourself before you've even gone to the racetrack. And, like I said, it was just all or nothing. And it takes all or nothing from everybody around you, and it's all or nothing from everything. And then you've still got to get on the racetrack and do it. And then you're up against 30 other guys who are all thinking the same thing. So it's a very competitive industry. It's not easy to be a winner in such a competitive industry. And then the higher you climb, the harder it gets. So, once I decided I wanted to be 250cc world champion, that was a pretty tall order, but I went for it.
We are also supported by Ultimate Add-ons. Old Faithful been with me from the very start. Ultimate Add-ons are the premium manufacturer of mobile phone and action camera mounting solutions for motorcycles. With a kit for any bike and a proven track record of creating products that keep your devices safe, secure and easily accessible, the Ultimate Add-ons product range is ideal for any rider, from the commuter to the round-the-world adventurer. Why shell out on an expensive GPS system when you could use your smartphone, keeping it charged and within reach to take photos of your travels at the same time? Ultimate Add-ons waterproof, shockproof and dustproof tough cases are available for all flagship smartphone models and are designed by riders
for riders. Find out why Ride Magazine gives Ultimate Add-ons their coveted Best Buy certification. Keep riding this winter with Ultimate Add-ons. It's all about the journey. Now, if you head to their website, ultimateaddons.com, use the code TeapotOne10, so that's TeapotOne, TeapotOne, with the number 10 at the end. That'll get you 10% off. A big shout out to Ultimate Add-ons for their continued support.
Yeah, and I mean, you were racing for a long time as well. You know, that's a long time that you're fully focused and chucking everything that you have at something.
Yeah, it's a very addictive sport. It's hard to walk away from, actually. I found it hard to walk away from, at least.
How have you dealt with coming out of, because obviously that's a full-on competitive environment, and there's the whole, you know, the psychological and emotional addiction that you must have from racing and that whole world. How have you, the reason why I'm asking is I come from a sort of travel background. Obviously you do that now as well. I did a big trip around the world about 10, 11 years ago, 12 years ago now. And I really struggled when I was on the road for about a year and a half, and I really struggled when I came back, falling back into my old life, you know, the post-trip blues. And it took me a long time, almost a year, to sort of deal with that. But I still have the yearning to hit the road all the time. I mean, how have you dealt with that transition out of that world to where you are now?
By traveling. Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. It was exactly that. I just kind of rewind at the end of my career. I met a journalist, and she was writing for a daily newspaper, and her column was only kind of like once a month, and it was something on cars or whatnot. And when I got the opportunity to go to Cambodia with her, when she rode a motorcycle in Cambodia, and I hadn't got a clue what I was doing other than that I could ride, and she couldn't really ride that well and wanted to do the trip. So I went, and I just bought a camera. I think I bought the camera in the airport, to be honest with you, and I hadn't got a clue what I was doing. Anyway, I shot some pictures of us on the trip and her on the trip and stuff, and they ended up in the Sun newspaper, and that straight away then ignited this kind of like thought in my mind of like, I can do that. That could be me.
Yeah.
And then I saw Ewan McGregor, Charlie Boardman, long way round.
Yep.
And it's hard not to watch that and be excited about it if you're into motorcycling. And then I saw the traveling. But what I didn't kind of like about what they were doing was just they were being followed by four wheels, which just didn't make any sense to me. So I just decided, right, why don't you just have a go at trying to do something like that, but you've got to do it by yourself, or if you do take someone with you, they're on a motorcycle, so that it's more seamless and that you can both enjoy the ride. So then I just started off by myself. I shot a bunch of stuff in America. I edited it. I was just winging it. I really was. I didn't have a lot of money. And there was a Moto GP in Indianapolis. So I went to the Moto GP in Indianapolis, and I bought myself a video camera, and I was just winging it, just shooting whatever I could at anything I could, just hoping I'd be able to make something of it. And I was sleeping in this really nasty, cheap hotel, the only one I could afford. And one night, I just happened to be just going through Craigslist and looking at the local motorcycles for sale. And I just had this idea that, why don't I just buy a motorcycle and ride back? And because I was already halfway across America, or 3/4 of the way across America. And then I just thought to myself, so I opened like Google Maps and had a look where I was, and looked at the price of these motorcycles, and I thought I could do that. I could have a go at that. And then I just happened to see Long Beach, New York on the map, and I was staying in Long Beach, California at my friend's, and I just thought to myself, Long Beach to Long Beach, I'm off to New York. So then I looked at flights to New York, and they were cheap from where I was. And so I just bought a flight, then hopped to New York, and I arrived in New York just thinking, right, I'm going to buy a motorcycle and ride back. And so I went into the internet cafe at the time when the internet cafes were the thing, and got online and went up to Craigslist, and I couldn't find anything for what I could afford. And I had literally set myself a budget of $200 to buy a motorbike.
Really?
Yeah, and
wow.
I didn't have a lot of money to get back. I had about $500 to get all the way back across America, and so I could afford about $200 for a motorbike, and then I had to get a few other bits and pieces, and then I had to ride across, and then everything else that went with it, and I had to buy a tent. So I went to the sports store and bought myself a tent and a mattress and a sleeping bag. I literally was just winging it, and then I just started going around New York trying to find a bike for $200. And I ended up staying at my sister's husband's brother and his partner. They luckily put me up, and I just said, "Oh, I'll just be here for a couple of nights." I was there like nearly a week, like trudging around New York trying to find a motorcycle. And then I found one, believe it or not. It was $300, but the guy liked me that much, or at this bar where this motorcycle was for sale, that the owner of the bar put in $100, and I put in my 200, and then I rode off down the road with this motorcycle, and then just as I was about to take the bike, he starts taking the license plate off, and I says, "Well, what are you doing?" He goes, "Oh no, that goes with me. Like license plate goes with me. I've got to send that back in." I'm like, "Oh, what? No, you got to leave that on. I've got to get across America. I can't get across America with no license plate." He was like, "Not my problem, mate," and took it off and just left. And I'm like, "God damn it!" So then I spent like the next few days. Oh my gosh, it was really difficult to get anybody to insure me. And then I had to get the bike registered. You're not a
citizen, are you?
No. And then I had to get the bike registered in my name, and I wasn't even a citizen either. Oh, it was a right disaster. So I managed to get it done at the 11th hour, and I rode across America then on they call it like a paper plate, but it was basically just like something you'd print out on your computer, stick it on the back of your bike, and that was it. Off I went, and then I had no clue, man. I looked on the map. I bought this map. This is another funny part to it. I bought this map, and the whole thing just pulled out, and it was all of America, and it didn't look that big. and I was in New York, and I just thought, oh, Niagara Falls is not that far away. Oh yeah, let's go to Niagara Falls first, and then I'll get, oh, look at Route 66. Oh wow, I can do. Yeah. Oh yeah, let's do that. Oh my God, it took me like 2 days just to get to Niagara Falls. I thought I'd be there in the afternoon. It's not England, that's for sure. And so I just left New York, and I got a speeding ticket immediately for doing something like 63 in a 45, and I was like laughing my head off because I was like, dude, this bike won't even do 63. I mean, like I was literally I was flat out everywhere. And in the end, he just signed it and let me off. He just signed my bike, and then when he signed my bike, because I asked him, would you sign my bike?
What, the copper did?
Yeah, I said, if I I'll write how fast I was going on my bike. Will you sign it? And then I got a picture of him signing my bike. And then that was it. Then everyone started signing my bike. Everyone that I met along the way. Brilliant. And I got some amazing messages on my motorcycle that year. And that was the start of MotoGeo then, because I used that. I documented my travels, and then I spent all of my time then to make a story, and then I sent my story around the world basically just to try and get someone to buy my story so that I could keep going, really. And that was the start of it.
And we are also supported this week by the Influencer Store. Now, the Influencer Store helps you build your brand big or small, providing you with a solution and apparel. We help you to increase your fan base while supporting you with starting your own influencer clothing line with nothing more than just an idea or design, and there are no hidden costs. For more info, come check us out at theinfluencerstore.co.uk or drop us an email at online@influencerstore.co.uk for more information. Now, if you head to TeapotOne.com, if you have a look at any of the merch available over there, that is all handled by Roger and Charlotte and the team over at the Influencer Store. A massive thanks to them for their ongoing support.
And I made a video and I showed it to the boss of Alpine Stars, and he just said to me, "Keep going." And I was like, "Keep going? What do you mean keep going? Like, with what? I've got no money, you know." And he was like, "I'll sponsor you. Just keep going." And I was just like, wow. Okay. So just...
Man, that's the stuff dreams are made of, that.
Yeah, I just start thinking of just random stuff that I could do and just doing it.
Tell me, tell me you still have that bike.
Oh, yeah, of course, dude. I'm not going to sell that.
Awesome.
Heck
awesome.
Yeah. I've never sold a motorcycle. That's my problem. Yeah, I've got a motorcycle obsession. I don't sell them. I just hoard them. Yeah, I've got motorcycles everywhere.
Obviously, you live in the States now. What took you over there? Because I heard on the Off Track podcast, you know, that it was a bit of a gamble for you, wasn't it? You just arrived.
Well, if you really
there,
want my true story, I'll tell you. I did the Isle of Man TT. I'll tell you this story now. You laugh. I'll probably get a kicking from the wife, but anyway, here we go. I was seeing this girl, and then I went to do the Isle of Man TT. And when I was seeing this girl, she moved to America for a year or two to do some work. So after I did the Isle of Man TT, I said, like, I'm coming over to see you, you know. So I jumped on an aeroplane and came over to see her, and we just argued immediately. And that was it. I was out of the car and I was with my suitcase, and I was trudging along the streets of Los Angeles on my own, now single, and I got a 3-week ticket.
Literally as you landed.
Yeah, I got like dumped as I landed, and I think she expected me to just turn around and get on the first plane and leave.
Yeah.
But dude, I'm a stingy Yorkshireman, and I got no money anyway, and so I had a 3-week ticket, and I just thought, oh well, at least I'll come over here and I'll go and get a story of something motorcycling. At least I can sell that, you know. Mm-hmm. And so it was at the same time Neil Hodgson was racing over here in America. And I had Neil's number. So I went down to Starbucks. I had to pay for internet. Remember back in those days when you got like a piece of paper with a code on, and you'd have to go on some website and type in the code, and you get 15 minutes of internet. And I'd be like, oh, you know, like trying to email as many people as I could. Anyway, so I hit up Neil and I hit up Roland Sands, and Neil said to me, I can't remember where he was, some like Road Atlanta or something racing. He said, this was like a Friday. And he said, you know, just look after yourself at the weekend, and, you know, I'll hit you up on Monday and we'll go from there. So I was like, okay, no worries. Like, so I still got 3 days that I've got to try and survive, you know, and I'm not joking you. I had hardly any money with me. I think I had $200 in, well, I had $200 in my wallet, and then I had I don't know, not a lot of money in my bank account, but whatever. Yeah. I was just winging it at the time, you know. And then so I hit up Roland. Roland answered his phone, Roland Sands, and he said, oh, hey, up Jamie, you know. And I said, oh, Roland, I've just run into a few problems. Can I stay at your house tonight? and he just said, yeah, dude, of course you can. And then that was it. I stayed at Roland's, and I didn't stay at Roland's for one night. I didn't stay at his house for 2 nights. I stayed at Roland's house for about three odd weeks, right? And then Roland
you're going to say like 5 months.
Oh, dude, he was unbelievable. He was so good to me, and he'd already stopped racing. He used to be a 250cc racer himself, and he was American 250cc champion. So we had something in common. I was 250 British champion. He was 250 American champion. He was into customizing motorcycles now. I was looking into writing and stories and photographing and selling my stories around the world. So there was a marry straight away there that we could do stuff together. And I ended up staying at his house. And then eventually he says to me, dude, when are you moving out? I don't need a roommate. Like, when do you go home? And I was like, oh, good question, dude. I'll check my ticket. And then I checked my ticket, and I'd already missed my flight home.
Right, this one's for you lot. Everyone that's watching, everyone that's listening, you're all helping to support the podcast, and I can't thank you enough. Every time that you like it, every time that you listen to it, download it, watch it, every time you give it a thumbs up, when you subscribe or follow the podcast on any platform that you happen to be consuming it on, every time you tell someone about it and they then go and do it, it all helps massively. And it's you guys that have helped push Bru Time up there to the top 5% of podcasts globally. My mind is blown. Thank you very much. And lastly, a huge shout out to all of you over in the clan on Patreon. You folks have supported me since I took the leap to do this all full time way back in 2020. I literally could not do this without you. To this day, I couldn't do it without your support. So a heartfelt thank you. Your questions are the bedrock of the podcast here at Bru Time. And your support really does mean the world. Folks, if you fancy getting involved with the clan, head to patreon.com/TeapotOne and come and join the fun. We do live streams that are only for the clan over on Patreon. I do meetups purely for the clan as well. They are normally UK based, but this year we're pushing a little bit further afield. Again, details are available over on the TeapotOne Patreon page and also in our private little Facebook group that we've got. Be great to have you along. If it's something that you think tickles your fancy, check it out. Patreon.com/TeapotOne. And to existing clanners, thank you very much. Right, let's get back to it.
And so I was just like, oh, bollocks, you know. So I called Virgin and I said, oh, look, I've missed my flight. And the woman said, don't worry, we can get you on another flight back. When would you like to fly back? And I said, what? I can pick? Because I expected it to go, you know, tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. be at LAX or something. And that would have been me. My life would be somewhere in Yorkshire by now, I would expect. And she said, oh, yeah, well, when does your visa run out? As long as you can fly back any time in that date. And I was like, what? She goes, yeah, check your passport. You'll find your visa. There'll be a date there. So I was like, oh, yeah, okay. So I checked my passport. Dude, it was like 2.5 months away. And I was just like, oh, yeah, okay. So I just picked the day before my visa ran out, which was like another 2.5 months away. And I just thought, F it, man. I love California, you know, and I've been involved with Roland and done so many incredible motorcycle things in the 3 weeks I'd been there. It was so much more exciting than what was going on in England, me trying to find a story, weather being miserable, everyone being freezing cold and telling you to slow down. And like, California was like, customize this, make it louder. It's sunny. You can ride in a t-shirt. Not ride in a t-shirt, but with a t-shirt and a leather jacket. I'd never ridden in a t-shirt and a leather jacket in my life. And you could do it every day here. And honestly, my tires were warmer, just sat on the curb than they ever were at the racetrack in some tire warmers. It was just a joy to ride a motorcycle in good weather. So
and America feels like, it's corny, sorry to interrupt, but America feels like the land of opportunity. You know, I know it's corny, but I've been there quite a few times now, never lived there. But when you're there, you feel like anything's possible. Like people don't go, totally. No, you can't do that. They don't go, no, you can't do that. They're like, yeah, go for it.
Exactly. And that was almost, no. I really agree with what you just said, because that's how I felt. I'm quite an ambitious person, and I've got ideas, and you want someone to just back your idea sometimes, right? Yeah. And just go for it. You know, that's a great idea, rather than go, nah, go get yourself a job, go get yourself a trade, settle down, you know, put your slippers on. And I'm just like, no, I want to travel. I want to do, you know, and it was just possible here, and it was just easier. And the weather was good. It's an obsession to ride motorcycle in good weather. And I was just starting to come out of racing, and I just finished the Isle of Man TT, man. So like, I was hyperactive. I'd had my like 200 Red Bulls, you know, like motorcycles. 30 miles an hour felt like I could walk it. I'd just done the Isle of Man TT, you know. So my behavior on motorcycle initially in California was a bit wild, but you know, I soon settled down. But you know, I was lucky. I got myself the opportunity to be an editor of a motorcycle magazine over here, and then so that I could then apply for a green card And then when I got my green card, I got 3 years. And then a lot happened in that 3 years. A lot happened. By the time I came out of my 3-year green card, I had a kid and a dog, and I don't know if I quite got a wife at that point, but, close. And, so it was like life was moving on pretty rapidly. Yeah.
And that brings you to where you are now. You live in California now.
Yeah. I don't know how many years later, but my boy's now 13. And so a lot's happened since I came here, just on winging it. You know what I mean? And I met my wife while I was just winging it, and so she knew me right off the bat as just being this crazy motorcycle rider. So that was easy because she only knew me one way, and I came in all guns blazing when I met her as usual. So she knew what she was getting, and then I grew up on a farm in England, right? So it's hard not to just love countryside nature. Hard to find in the metropolis here of Los Angeles, but it's not been easy just kind of like settling over here, to be truthful, but I now live in Topanga, which is a lot greener than most of the concrete jungle around me, and so that's good. And but there's nothing like home, right? There's nothing like England. There's nothing like. I miss the banter. I miss just having a laugh. You know what I mean? I miss just having a laugh with your mates. You know what I mean? So
it's interesting you saying this, because I literally this afternoon I met up with an old mate of mine for lunch who emigrated to Canada, God, over 10 years ago. So he's settled over there now, wife and kids and all settled down. And he came back over and we were chatting there over lunch, and he was like, I was saying to him, so, like, what's long term, because we're all now sort of 10 years away from retirement, really ish, aiming for that young retirement age. And he was like, he said, Canada's not home. He's like, he's come back now here into the UK, and he's like, I miss this. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, we're sat in a pub in Kent in southeast England, and he's like, I miss this. You don't get this over there. And I was like, well, what do you mean? You don't get a pub? And he said, in Canada, they don't do pubs like this. It's not like this. Like, there was blokes sat up at the bar chatting with the barman. And I was like, I've seen that in the films. Surely they do that. And he says, no, you might find one out in the middle of nowhere, but he lives just outside Vancouver, and exactly what you just said, he misses all the things that make the UK the UK. And I think it's stuff that you take for granted when you live here, but when you're away, yeah.
Very fair, but other than that, I miss everything else. You know what I mean? It's just a way of life there. I was brought up there, and just the English banter, or the English way of just, I don't know, saying how it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just kind of speaking your mind, which gets you into serious trouble over here. I mean, people don't like it. It's not the same thing. Oh dear. But and also just effing and blinding as well a bit, like proper English style, and not really meaning anything nasty about it, but swear words over here usually mean like a lot of aggression, whereas in England we use them, but we're just using them as another part of the vocab. You know what I mean? It's all just express your opinion on something. Might just like, you've got to be really kind of, I don't know, take it far to get offended by somebody saying something in England sometimes, and I just miss that, and but there's a lot of the world's now a bit more of what's the word? It's more of a melting pot as well, isn't it? We're seeing now it's just people are traveling all over the world. We see influencers and YouTubers everywhere doing everything. You can be everywhere and doing anything anytime now, can't you? We can see it. And, it's hard not to want to be a part of that too. So
yeah, and it's like what you said, that these days, you know, what does it mean to be British, you know, over here? Because everything's changing here. As you said, we have influences from all over the world, especially down here in the southeast. You know, in London, London's like any big metropolis. I'm sure LA and New York are exactly the same. You got people from every walk of life, every background, every religion. They speak every language going, and everything just sort of gets merged together, doesn't it? The whole society changes. But
absolutely,
you said about
absolutely.
Topanga. The reason that, pardon the expression, lit a flame in my head was obviously you guys have just gone through all the fires over there. And can I just say, fair play to you and everyone that stayed put and basically got to work. And well, you saved your own home, and you've no doubt saved countless other homes. Fantastic work.
I'll just reiterate, actually. I didn't save my own home. The fire didn't come into my neighbourhood. Right. I raced really to try to save a friend's house of mine. Mm-hmm. And then with that, found myself just, you know, seeing devastation around me, and then also the opportunity to put out some spot fires here, there, and everywhere. And a wildfire is a very dangerous situation. We found ourselves here in Topanga just surrounded by fire and in a very precarious position. Wow. Like everybody should have done, was to evacuate and stay safe. But obviously, you know, I also wanted to help, and if I could, I would. So I did. But what came from that, to be honest with you, has just been this incredible realization that motorcycles can really be of use in those critical, rapid response situations. Yeah. And there's a very big void there currently. So I really feel that motorcycles can fill that void. Yeah. And so since the fire experience, I've just taken it upon myself really to start to look into filling that void here. And I'm just now currently trying to put something together where we can see motorcycles be of some use in the future.
That's awesome. Folks, if you didn't follow it, folks, you can go to Jamie's Instagram, MotoGeo, and you've got reels on there, videos and pictures. Basically, you're charging around on the Guzzi, aren't you, on the Moto Guzzi?
Yeah,
with a chainsaw and like a rake.
I'm really bad with motorcycle maintenance, and luckily I had a press bike here, and it also had some gas in it, and my bike tires were worn out and it was empty.
Sorry. Jamie, sorry, 2 seconds. I've just had a thing at my end saying you've stopped recording. Something not being recorded anymore.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, got you now. Yep. You were a bit faint, but I've got you now. Right, mate. I listened to what we'd done last time. I reckon we just step back into it, and I've said to people that we had technical issues because
I don't even remember where we were, so I'm glad you do.
It's all right. Right. On the last one, we had just we just started covering the fires, the California fires, and how you discovered that bikes were like an effective vehicle for fighting the fires.
Yes. I mean, honestly, it was just a total chaotic experience. But you know, I'm an avid motorcyclist, right? So I used what I knew in that situation, and what I found out from the motorcycle in that kind of quick response situation. It's an incredible vehicle. And, I don't know where we were before, but so kind of like kicking off, it was just like, you know, as a kid, I grew up, you know, using motorcycles as fun. And then I got into racing. And then from racing, at the end of my racing, it came then adventure and travel and journalism and reviews or whatever, you know. And for some reason, I never kind of like thought too much about a working motorcycle. And that's purely because, you know, we just don't really see them that much in the UK and then in Europe. And then Also in America, we just don't see that either. And so anyway, it just kind of woke me up to like, what an incredible vehicle, like just getting away from my obsession with motorcycles and all that. They're just an incredible vehicle. And it just kind of like woke me up to just, oh, wow, in this situation, like, why are we not using motorcycles to kind of fight fire? Or why are we not using motorcycles? So it kind of piqued my curiosity initially. Then I started doing research on it, and then actually finding that these fire motorcycles kind of do exist. And they do exist in other parts of the world. And honestly, just mainly Asia. And it's mainly Asia because they just use motorcycles for everything, and they'll use a pickup truck if they really have to. But its first vehicle is a motorcycle. And then, so it's just a different way of thinking about it. And we use... I don't know. We just don't really use a motorcycle as a working vehicle. And then anyway, so that got me, it started with the fire, and then just being able. I live in a part of the world that's kind of, topography wise, it's difficult. It's hilly. And it's got a lot of switchbacks because most of the roads here are, not like normal America, which is just straight and an intersection and another straight or whatever. Like this is like British roads, and lots of twists and turns and big vehicles, especially emergency response vehicles that have a lot of weight attached to them, and they're very kind of slow moving. And I get it, but at the same token, speed is everything in a disastrous situation or an emergency situation. The UK have some great motorcycles, like in some situations with paramedics, and they don't use them all across like all areas wherever they use a car, although we should use a motorcycle, in my opinion. Anyway, it's just kind of got me really kind of like thinking about what I could do in my own neighborhood, in my own community to try to help, because at the end of the day, there is not enough firefighters to fight a wildfire. I don't care what anybody says. You can beef up any fire department 1,000,000%. It doesn't make any difference. When that wildfire comes into town, there ain't no stopping it anyway. It's nature's way of dealing with a lot of dry brush, and it all comes back. But if there's too much brush, then it comes into a community, it can have devastating effects, as we've already seen.
Yeah, obviously over here, and I mean, you know what it's like. You're from here, but in the UK, we don't. You get a wildfire here, then it never really impacts like a mass populated area here, does it? If you get a wildfire here, it's in the farmers' fields and the farmers deal with it, or if it's in the forests and they're in the middle of nowhere, so no one ever really gets affected by it. But and you hear about these fires that you have over in California and stuff. But I don't know, for some reason, maybe it's because of the amount of social media out there, but for some reason, this last lot, obviously it was monumental, it was huge, but watching people like yourself who were documenting it happening by the hour, literally, it was like every time I picked up Instagram, your account was there and you had another story, and it was like 1 minute, it was like a roller coaster. God knows what it was like for you, but 1 minute it's like, oh Christ, he's got it, he's put that out, they're okay. And then the next minute you're like, okay, I've spotted another fire over on that ridge line. And you're like, fuck, Jesus, all right. And then you were like helping neighbours out, and you were meeting up with other people on bikes, and it was great. Like, explain to people that weren't following it, you basically had your motorbike with
so
like
what
a
happened?
chainsaw and a shovel strapped.
Absolutely. So what happened was I've moved to a wildfire area. I'm just a Yorkshire lad, right? I like motorbikes and I like nature, and there isn't a lot of nature around Los Angeles. So in my neighborhood, I live in a place called Topanga. It's surrounded by kind of like state park, which is a bit hippie-ish, arty, musicians, creative people kind of like enjoy it here, those that enjoy nature, and then all around us is just like city craziness, right? So we're a little small pocket, but because we have a lot of greenery around us and nature, we're also very susceptible then that when these wildfires come into Los Angeles, we are surrounded by literally just kind of like a tinderbox. It's just dry brush, right? And we live in amongst it. I mean, I literally live in a treehouse next to a bunch of trees, right? So the chance of my house surviving a wildfire is pretty much zero. Plus, it was built in the 70s, and wood in the 70s is very dry in this day and age now. So, there's little chance. However, for some reason, Topanga's been very, very lucky, and it hasn't really come into us, our town. It's always gone around us for whatever reason. But this latest wildfire was like no other. I mean, okay, so we live in an area where we usually just get the ocean breeze coming in every day, okay? And it's just a mild ocean breeze. And by the time I live about 6 miles in from the ocean, and by the time it gets to us, it's already kind of warming up. It's not really a cool breeze, but it's warming up, okay? And then as it goes up over our hilltop and over our ridge and then into the valley, it goes like an inferno down there. Then it goes up and over another ridge line, and then it's into the desert. And then it's another inferno in terms of temperature, okay? Well, every now and again, the winds blow the opposite way, and they blow from the desert, and we get that hot desert air instead of this cool ocean breeze, okay? So when we do get those desert winds in the opposite direction, those are what we call like red flag days, like very high wildfire susceptible wildfire days, and sometimes it only takes like a day or two of these winds, and you can't believe it, but like your lips are all getting chapped, your skin dries, you can feel everything in your garden is just kind of like dying, and it's just there's just no moisture in the air now.
Wow.
When you get these winds that are blowing 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 miles an hour, and then you get a fire, that fire moves damn quick. And it's very difficult to contain. So when you've got a quickly moving fire that's very difficult to contain and you're surrounded by dry tinderbox brush, it's a really scary situation. And that's just what we found ourselves in earlier on this year. And I've got two vehicles, right? I've got an old van and I've got my motorcycles. And I just happened to have a Moto Guzzi here. I jumped on it and I took off when I saw the plume of smoke. And there's certain plumes of smoke that you'll like look and, oh, that could be this, it could be that. And this was literally, I stepped out of my front door and it was like one of those F moments. It was like, oh, wow, oh, we're in trouble, right? So I jumped on my motorcycle and I rode to the end of my street and I got as far as I could legally. And I couldn't see over the next ridgeline into the state park, and it looked bad. So I took off running or walking, jogging, kind of whatever it was, as I tried to climb further up this ridgeline. It took me like 45 minutes to get to the top of this ridgeline. And then I just watched in disbelief what I was seeing, which was just this fast-moving fire that was heading into neighborhoods, and it was being attacked from the air by some helicopters at the time, and it was so windy I could literally see the water being dropped, and it just turned into just evaporating and just blowing into not even landing because it was so windy. The helicopters were struggling to fly. It was out of control. Then I had to watch that for a little while just to see what's happening here, because, like fires, I couldn't just see it and then turn around and leg it, because I had to see, are we safe? Because the wind was in our favor, but there was nothing between us than the fire, the state park, and the state park was just full of dry brush. And I was just like, so I just watched the state park more than anything. And and it was burning back towards us, even though the wind was in our favor. It was heading back towards our town. So then I took off running and I headed back into my neighborhood. I met a few people and they weren't really kind of like believing what I was saying, that it was heading towards us because the wind was in our favor, right? Anyway, it was only a matter of hours before Topanga then got evacuated. And so my wife and kid and most of Topanga left. But I really genuinely wanted to stay because I wanted to stay and see if I could help and not be a nuisance. And anyway, that first day was just, it was just terrifying because it started off kind of behind us, and then the wind pushed it to the side of us and then in front of us, and then kind of around us. So
it's flanking you, basically.
We just got quickly surrounded by all sides, or almost kind of like three sides. And then as the topography is here in Topanga, and it got onto the coast and started just kind of taking out homes on the coast like you couldn't believe, and then jumping because it was so windy, and it was just getting ahead of itself. And these spot fires were just getting out of control. There was just no stopping it. And then it got hold of businesses and homes, and it was just totally out of control. And everybody was fleeing, and people were leaving their cars on one side. And then on Topanga, which I was on, it was just terrifying. Everyone was just extremely afraid. And then as it turned to night, as it comes around Topanga, there's two roads in. Well, actually, one big road in, the 27, and as soon as it got to that road, the canyon was like a chimney, and it just came back up through. So it started coming back up through towards us pretty quickly, and then just after that, there's another steeper canyon, and it was a real chimney up that canyon, and it just blew back up and took out so many homes, and then arrived on top of our hilltop. Now I have a pretty good vantage point of this hilltop, and I just saw this hilltop all just suddenly erupt. You can't believe it, like the biggest bonfire you've ever seen. And then it just so happens I've got a friend who has a house up there, and it just happens to be Max Biaggi, because I've known Max since my 250 days. And he used to have a bird. He used to have a bird here in America, and anyway, he ended up buying a house, and then it not working out. But he kept his house, and then he used to come here and train when he was in his Moto GP days and in his superbike days, because it's cold in Italy, just like it is in England in the winter.
Yeah.
So he always kept his house, and then I ended up living around here. So anyway, I know him. I know where his house is. And so when that happened, I just threw my riding gear on, and I jumped on my motorcycle, and I zoomed up to where I know Max's house is to see if I could be of any assistance, right? Because what I saw was total devastation. And man, I'd never seen anything like it, and I'd never really wanted to see it again. But like, it was just... I'd ridden into like a very precarious situation, and his neighbour's house was on fire. The house at the back of that was on fire. The other side of it was on fire. And I don't know how Max's house wasn't on fire, but there was a lot of, all of his garden was on fire. His children's swing and play set, that was all on fire.
God.
The brush around his propane tank, that was on fire. So I rushed over, turned his propane tank off, and then I went and started putting out some fire around he has a palm tree near his front door, and his palm tree was on fire. And then
I'm sorry, I shouldn't be laughing.
no, I know, but and then I didn't have any tools. I was literally doing it initially with my hands and my feet, and then
Seriously,
seriously,
what, stamping the fires out?
yeah, I didn't have anything. I knew he had a swimming pool, so I rushed over to the swimming pool. There was no buckets, so I couldn't even get any water. I couldn't find anything around to help me. I turned the water on from the hose pipe. They turned the water off, so we had no water. Yeah. So it was just chaotic, and I just did what I could. Initially, I ran up to his front door, and he had a coconut matting on his front door, which those apparently are like the worst things, because those go up, and then your door frame goes up, and your door goes up, and then your house burns down. But, you know, it was a wild situation. It was a really wild situation. It was windy. Everything was on fire. It was a really, really dangerous situation and terrifying, really. And then I felt like I'd done what I could, really. I kind of felt like this was either going to burn down, or I was going to burn down, or my bike was going to set on fire. Because I turned around and looked at my bike, and the tires were glowing. And all the embers were landing, and because we had somewhere to just stay, my tires were just glowing. So I turned my bike around and got it more aerodynamic, and so the embers couldn't just go under, and so that gave me another 5 or 10 minutes. And then then I thought to myself, you know, if I don't get out of here while I still can, maybe I'm not going to be able to get out of it. It was really wild. So I left.
My God.
And then I watched that night, just terrifyingly that night, just more homes go up. And I was absolutely for certain Max's house had gone up, you know. And then I got up early the next morning, and I just rushed up there just to see, and his house was still there, just all smoking. Wow. So I just got to work again, and start putting out fires and spot fires. And his neighbour's house was exactly the same, and then his other neighbour's house too, because he was in like a line. And so, like, I'm pretty sure if Max's house had gone up, his neighbour's house had gone up. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because those houses were burning for, like, as the wildfire comes, it kind of passes through areas. It's incredible to see it, but it's moving pretty quick. And it's only when it gets hold of something, it tries to burn it, right? And then, so houses don't burn down immediately. It's usually something gets going. And then once it gets inside, there's no stopping it, you know, or it gets into the roof, or it's so windy, it blows a window open or a front door open or something. You can't believe the winds. I mean, I lived in Yorkshire and had some gale force winds, but like, honestly, like, winds with fire is ferocious. Yeah.
Oh, okay, Jamie. One question for you then, pal.
Yeah.
Why are you still there? What keeps you there?
What's that, buddy?
What keeps you there after this has happened?
Yeah,
what
good question. I've probably got more of a love for Topanga now than I've ever have, actually.
Yeah. Has it brought the community even closer together, do you think?
Yeah, it's just like, it's like any community in the UK, really. It's a close community. And, this is also a place that is very special. It is a special place, you know, so you want to protect it. Also, most of the year we don't have wildfire problems. So like most of the year I'm having a good time, you know, but it's just opened my eyes to then. I knew that there was fires, but fires I've seen around us, and it is pretty frightening. But they're being contained pretty quickly, and even though they're big and they're ferocious, but they get contained and put out pretty quickly, it soon gets forgotten. Especially when no one gets hurt and no structures get burnt down, and it's just a bit of brush. What happened this time is 6,800 structures got burnt, and it burnt 23,000 acres. That happened in like 24 hours. So, you can't
comprehend that over here, can you? You just can't comprehend it.
You can't. And I live in a place now which has this kind of like really weird juxtaposition, because we survived, so we're very grateful and thankful. And then, but 30 homes did get burnt down in our neighborhood, so we didn't go unaffected. And then one guy lost his life trying to save his house, so that's extremely sad. But it's nothing like the Pacific Palisades and Malibu that literally lost massive chunks of communities and homes. And it's just devastating to see. So like one side of it, you know, I've literally seen families crying and lost everything, literally lost everything. And then on the other side of the hill, Los Angeles is just going at 1,000,000 miles an hour and nobody really knows it's happened. So, you know, it's an interesting place where we live. However, you know, it's opened my eyes to how valuable speed and access is in those kind of very precarious positions. And motorcycles have a great use for speed and agility, I think. So that's my next quest, is trying to honestly really kind of come up with a way that motorcycles can genuinely be of assistance. And it's whether it's assisting the first responders somehow or assisting the community somehow. But there'll be another day where there's another wildfire, and there'll be another day where there's just not enough firefighters, and there'll be another day where it's terrifying and we've got to move quickly. And I tell you, I'd jump on my motorcycle any day of the week over getting out of here on any vehicle, because it doesn't matter where or what's happening. If you can walk it, I can ride it. So, you know, I can get myself out of here. But I'd like to be able to do that for the community. Or if there's a wildfire and it's difficult to get to and it's going to take 45 minutes to get to that position because of access, you've got to look at, maybe it's better to send a motorcycle and who's a trained firefighter into that situation, because maybe
a squad of bikes.
Yeah, I mean, they use them in Asia a lot. So my quest this year is to go to Asia and see what they've got and how they do it.
Oh, wow. Are you going to document all that on MotoGeo and stuff?
Absolutely. That's that's honestly, I was putting together my year, or what I was going to be doing this year. And I was going to be going on a world tour and seeing different motorcycles. But now this wildfire has happened during all of kind of my startup of all of this. It's really kind of projected it more in a working vehicle, a working motorcycle, not just kind of recreational or where we can go and enjoy it. And I don't know. It's I'm looking forward. I'm going to be coming to the Isle of Man because they also use a motorcycle to get to a crash quicker than any other
medics.
vehicle. And so we'll start there. And I love the Isle of Man, so that's a great place to go. And
absolutely.
And then hopefully I can find some motorcycles in the UK. I've seen some. I can't remember where I saw it, but there's some Kawasaki's in the north of England somewhere. I think in Yorkshire being used. You know, we tend to use them over here, motorcycles over here, to close roads down so that they can do some filming for Hollywood or something. They don't really use the motorcycle too much for a really good use, other than catching speeding motorists and closing roads down and things, you know. Anything that
we've had bike paramedics in London for decades now, and they're brilliant. You know, for the traffic in London, they're fantastic.
Absolutely,
they pretty much always arrive on scene first. You know, they arrive, triage, determine what's needed, and then obviously keep the ambulance coming if they need the ambulance, or they can cancel it. Sometimes they can be there and they can deal with everything that's there. So,
amazing.
Bosh, done.
They have something called the quick responders in Japan, and they're on motorcycles, and it seems like they can get to scenes very quickly. And they were brought into operation because of the tsunamis and the earthquakes that they have over there. And then that causes obviously chaos to roads and networks, and the quick responders can still get around. So these motorcycles in working environments do exist. And I love the idea of motorcycles coming to the rescue, because I've just grown up.
It's positive PR for bikes, isn't it?
It's amazing.
Positive.
I've grown up since I was a little kid of everyone telling me I've got a death wish and that motorcycles are dangerous. Yeah. Compared to what? What? Sitting in a box? Well, most of the time it's the people sat in the box that cause the incidents anyway. So, and there's so much distraction out there with people looking at their phones while trying to drive and text and all of those kind of things. It is dangerous out there, but at the same time, we get on a motorcycle, we know it, we try and be as protected as we can, and off we go. But, you know, I think also motorcycles coming to the rescue is an amazing change of thought, because Hollywood used motorcycles in the worst way. You know,
it's always gangs, isn't it, and baddies and all sorts.
Anything to bring more drama to the screen, you know. He's going to, you know, get killed and shoot a gun. Oh, let's put him on a motorcycle and get killed and shoot a gun, you know. So it'd be nice to portray something that's a little bit different. And also, I've genuinely seen a really great use for a motorcycle. And the difference is, from what the research I've been doing, there are motorcycles groups out there, but, you know, I don't think you can train a firefighter to ride a motorcycle. It's much easier to take an avid motorcyclist and train him how to fight fire.
Yeah.
And skills take decades to learn. And so fire's already dangerous enough without having to send somebody in there who's worried about his riding skills. You know, those are furthest
something else for them to be thinking about, isn't it?
I don't think about it at all. I just ride. I don't even think about it. I just ride.
Exactly.
So, like, I'd like to learn about fighting fire and also not being in a situation where I'm worried, panicked, unsafe, or whatever. Right? I need to be able to get those skills where I can actually go, I'm safe here and I can be of help. So honestly, I just see that motorcycles can be of some use. So anyway, that's my next quest. Let's see if I can make it happen.
I've just got this vision of your first sort of brigade of motorcycle firefighters. And it's you, Max Biaggi, Kevin Schwantz. You get Colin Edwards up from Texas.
Oh yeah. Oh,
wheeling off into the
Max
inferno.
would be the furthest one from it, I think. You know. No, I've got a hodgepodge of different motorcycles here, so I'm on a mission to get quite a few of them, just kind of customized to be in that emergency response situation. And then if it happens and we can be of some use, and maybe we can start to put a bit of a team together, you know. I'd like it to be a real thing, honestly. I really would like it to be that some motorcycle riders can be quickly on the scene and be of assistance. Yeah.
Brilliant. I'm really looking forward to the series on MotoGeo as well. I think that's going to be fantastic viewing. It's going to be very interesting to see how different countries, different cultures utilize bikes.
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it myself. It puts a bit of a different spin on my travels.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. We'll get into that then. We'll move into MotoGeo. But the way I do things here is obviously we have a general chit chat to begin with, and then I tend to turn towards my Patreon and socials, and people have the opportunity to leave questions. We go through the questions. They can be quite random at times, so I'll forewarn you. But a lot of the times, you know, people can have way more knowledge, say, about your racing pedigree and your racing past. There's people who are avid race followers, and they've got questions for you. Other people, there's a lot of questions about burgers. I'll just warn you. There's a lot of questions about burgers. So are you all right with that? If we start tackling some questions?
Yeah. Happy to answer any burger questions that might come up.
Great. I just suddenly thought to myself, I didn't actually start this chat, did I? I didn't actually say to people what happened. Yeah, folks, there was a bit of a technical issue when we recorded this the first time round, so obviously this is part 2 that we're doing now. Anyway, right, so we'll head to Patreon, the clan over on patreon.com. First one is Mr. Fish. Not a question, I just want to say I've watched Jamie from way back and I love the content. Shame I didn't see you at the, is that South California Motovlog meetup, SCMM? Say hello to Sub D if you, is that Subdelinquent?
Yeah.
I think that's something. Do you still? You're mates with him, aren't you?
Yeah, believe it or not, I met him on my first day at work in the USA. Yeah.
Really?
I actually got an office job for a little short time, which was quite interesting. But anyway, he was my savior. Yeah, he was my savior. And then after the demise of the magazines was all through online, really. Everything went online. And both of us ended up turning to YouTube and setting up our own kind of accounts. And his was incredibly successful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. It's like I've had, Chase on Two Wheels. I've had him on the podcast years ago when this first started. And he had I think he had over 1 million subs at that point. It's crazy because you just don't really get that over here.
No,
I think there's maybe one that's got 1 million.
He's very good at putting his videos together. And, and it's incredible seeing what works and what doesn't and what followers follow certain things. It really is. There's no rhyme or rhythm to it sometimes, or reason to it, rhyme or reason to it. But I think at the end of the day, anybody who's putting out some positive motorcycle content, not just wheeling and being a hooligan, I'm super stoked about.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's weird, your channel's been around for a long time. Mine too. I think my channel's been going since 2010, 2011. And you see people hit the ground running, sprinting, don't you? They come from nowhere, rocket up with these massive subscriber growths, and then they just fade away, or they just disappear. It's like they're not in for the long game. It's just in massive popularity, and then it's almost like once that initial thing's gone, that initial rise is gone. It's hard work. It's hard work to keep the channel ticking over, isn't it? And
it's a real job
for everybody.
And in the past, I also just set myself too many goals and then just exhausted myself too.
Yeah.
So it can be. There's no. You can't make enough videos. You can't almost feed it enough. But at the same time, that's also really exhausting. And there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, isn't there? Especially when you're traveling.
It's trying to find the time, isn't it? It's like I have a touring business as well, and my tours are away to kick off in a couple of weeks, basically. And then that's literally every 3 weeks I'm away on another tour. So it's like last year, I really sort of dropped the ball massively last year, because it's like, how do you keep the channel going? I was not home to edit. And when you've got punters away with you, it's not like I can get to the hotel in the evening and go, right, lads, I'll see you in the morning. That's just not how I do it. You're out for a meal and showing them around the towns and having a few beers and getting a crack with people. So I found it really hard last year. Well, yeah, absolutely.
Well, it is. I found it really difficult these last few years with being injured and just being able to create content with an injury. And I carried my injury for so long, it was ridiculous, just trying to keep going. And, it eventually came to a grinding halt. And it's difficult to have something get in the way. But there's only so much you can do. That's why I'm looking forward to this year, traveling a bit and going after finding these working motorcycles and stuff and seeing what we can find. And, it'll, I hope at the end of it too, I'm going to make a movie instead of, I make a lot of stuff on YouTube, you see. So I've been doing it for so long now. I feel like I'm at a point where I really want to make a movie. And I make a lot of stuff for like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes even sometimes. So why not just make something that's a little bit more, a longer duration, but a fuller story. So that's what I'm going to be doing this year. Yeah.
Love it. That's exactly, I've been like that over the last few years. I'm like, I quite fancy doing like a film, trying to do a proper film on YouTube, obviously. It's like, but I'm just not, I don't know about you, but I end up getting, I end up getting swamped. Like I start drowning in everything that you've got to do, and the more tours and stuff, content you create and film, it just adds to this ever-increasing backlog of content that needs to be edited. Yeah, because I don't know about you, but I'm literally a one-man band, so I'm editing everything as well, and I'm a slow editor. So I've got footage going back to
Yeah.
Jeez.
No, I'm
2020, 2021 that hasn't been edited yet.
I'm very lucky. But right from the almost the beginning, well, really from the beginning, I hired an editor to work with. And initially, I was just project by project, and as it's gone on, I've ended up just taking somebody on full time, and it's
nice.
it's invaluable because I found myself that when I was trying to edit, I wasn't. I was spending all my time inside, and time flies when you're editing. Oh my gosh, it's the same as being a journalist and sitting down to write. I mean, hours go by and you don't even realize. And so I got somebody in to help me, and I put my skills into trying to get the better production, and that somebody could do a better job than me of editing. And also when you're on the road, it's impossible. It really is. I mean, if you're a one-man band and your people and your edits are like that, then it's possible. But when you've got a lot of footage, drone footage, and then you've got a lot of voiceover, and there's a lot that goes into a production.
Absolutely, yeah. I tried actually bringing on an editor a couple of months ago, but it just didn't work out, and I don't know. I need to do it. I've been saying for years I need to do it. But,
I mean, at the end of the day, you have your own style, so it takes a while for somebody to kind of dial into what you want, especially initially. But for me, as I've, my editor knows my work pretty well now, so he just gets stuck into it. But, previously, like leading up to that, I'd go through all of the footage myself and organize it then into a story, folder by folder, so that it's easier for him to then put it together in that storyline, And we work closely. I mean, as we work through the edits, telling the story and stuff, it's teamwork. Editing is not like I just leave him to it and I get an awesome edit back. I mean, we get there in the end and he's an awesome editor. But what I'm trying to say is that it is teamwork. As a producer, you're involved in the whole process, Yeah.
It's sharing that part of effectively my life that I'm struggling with, because I'm a massive control freak. I think with not with anything else, but with this, because it's my baby. Like this has just been such a massive part of my life really since I started doing the whole TeapotOne thing. It's just very protective over it, and you don't want to release it out there to anyone else's control. But you have to grow. You have to, don't you? For sure.
Oh, hang on a second.
It said the same thing. Right, folks at home, just to explain what's going on. We're having the same issue as before. I'm using a different platform now, something called Riverside. Basically, the video quality is not going to be as good as it was, but you should still have some video and you should still have the audio. Hopefully.
Hopefully. Okay.
Sorry, mate. Where were we? Yeah.
No worries. It is. I was going into it when I first started videoing with no editing skills, right? So then I had to learn how to edit, and then I quickly found that, oh my gosh, this is time consuming. And then, oh my gosh, I'm just literally watching days go by out my front door, and I'm not even leaving the house, and I was just staring at a computer. And so I quickly kind of like got out of that, and I started working with someone. And it took me a while to find people to work with, and it's not easy to find an editor, because it really is. It's part of the process, especially when it's your stuff and you have an idea of what you want it to look like. Yeah. And then if you can already do some of it, you're like, oh, for God's sake, what am I paying this person for?
Just let me do it. I'll do it.
Yeah, exactly. And but having an editor to work with for me has always been something that I've left it in somebody else's hands, and I'll just try and steer the ship from a distance.
And do you find? I always find it's never good enough. When I'm doing it, there's always something I can just do it. Just cut a little bit more here, or maybe just color correct this.
Well, that's why I like working with my editor, because he chops stuff out. I'd be like, I can get too attached,
invested
to so
into
much
it.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, when he puts stuff together, I'm like, oh my God, I know I've got better shots than that. And I'll go through it myself and I'll find stuff and, like, but that's part of it. That's just part of it. I mean, also an editor sees it from a different point of view. He's like trying to tell a story. You're attached to every shot, what's in it, what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe if it's a long GoPro shot and something happened, the moment, so you now get to what the moment is, what voiceover works for that, blah, blah, blah. You know it all in your head because you've got that experience. So it's hard to work with an editor. It really is. It's not an easy process. But it frees me up. It frees me up to then be on my adventures and editing still be going on and progress still to be happening, especially when I'm away from my desk, and away from home or I'm on the road. So it's that's a beauty of it too. Not just the editing, is that there's still stuff going on, while you're on the road.
You can turn your attention to being creative at the end of the day, can't you? Because I'm finding myself, there's lots of new things I want to do, like different styles of filming or just producing different styles of content. But in my head, I'm just like, well, I've still got all this other stuff to do, so I'll just resort to the default. I'll just crack that out. That'll do for now.
It sounds to me that you're at that point, just like I was at, almost that you're at that point of handing the reins over, when you can do that, it frees up. I mean, it's the biggest cost that I have in my business is my editor. But at the end of the day, we're a team. We work together. My content is produced together. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, it's an editor is a big part of it. It's a skill that I just don't possess. I could learn. I just don't wish to.
Fair enough. Yep, got you. Yeah, everyone keeps telling me, so I'm going to have to do it. I'm going to have to take the leap.
Yeah. Honestly, I mean, when I worked with my editor, I took him fresh out of college or uni or whatever. And so, he's on a pretty good salary now, but he wasn't when he first started with me, and we've just grown together. And then he went off and worked for Icon for a while and learned some new skills there, and then he's back working with me. So, it's great how we've been able to grow together. And, initially when I first started MotoGeo, it was much smaller. I probably only had, 10,000 subscribers at the time, and we were, just kind of chipping away. So, yeah, I think get an editor.
I'm Scottish as well, though, and it means, spending money. We can't do that.
Yeah. I know.
Mind you,
Yorkshireman.
But Yorkshireman's doing it.
I know exactly that. I'm the worst of the worst. Like I'm a right tight-fisted Yorkshireman. But at the end of the day, I like riding, and I don't like sat in front of my computer too much.
Yeah, I get you. Get you.
And so that just frees me up to be able to do that, and things still happening while I'm on the road enjoying myself.
I get you. Right, back to the questions. Next one, Fatman Scoots. Evening, Jamie. I've only just discovered your channel, thanks to Bruce, so I'm about binge watching the shit out of it. Question for both of you. How do you balance the travel, editing, and riding with family life? I find it hard to get out even for an hour a week. Yeah, it's a balance, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay, so I have a wife and kid. My kid is 13 and he has autism. And that for me has been the biggest difficulty, is leaving my family and going off on having adventures. And the older he's got, the more difficult it's become. When he was a toddler, it was pretty easy. He didn't know if I was there or not anyway, really. And but as he's got older, of course, it becomes more, the attachments grow stronger and it's more and more difficult. He's got autism as well, so it's not an easy situation when I'm not around, just for my wife so that for me is the biggest difficulty. But I also feel that if I don't go, I don't know about you, but if I don't go, I don't know, I'm not a very nice person to be around anyway. So, like my wife would just go on an adventure, will you?
That's exactly what my wife says. Bugger off out on the bike. Yeah.
Yeah. Bugger off for a week and then come back and you're at least a nice person, So, I think there's a mix of that too, and I think it's vital to have that escape. So going back to the question, I think you have to, don't you? If you don't get out once a week, then maybe just put all of those kind of hours together and bugger off on a Saturday afternoon, camp out Saturday night, and wake up early Sunday morning and have a nice ride and ride back home. I mean, just something like that is an incredible reset for me.
Yeah.
Just, being able to escape, camp out, ride, come home is just like, wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I really enjoy that.
I used to be in the old Bill, and I remember there was a chap there chatting to me about bikes. Obviously, it's all we ever used to talk about. But he had commitments at home and issues at home. But his wife used to say to him, kind of like what you were saying, she realised he needed that time on the bike. But all they could do was like 2 weeks a year, basically. So she would just be like, there would be 2 weeks of the year. That is yours. Just do whatever you want to do with it. And that's exactly what he'd just focus everything for that 2 weeks. And then he would just bugger off somewhere, wherever it was, anywhere in the world.
You
fly there, hire the bike.
On a motorcycle in 2 weeks, can't you?
Yeah.
You could go a long way here. You could have a trip of a lifetime. And, I don't know about you, but that's what I've tried to do on my channel, is create all of these different adventures that they're all different in terms of distance. They're all different in terms of days in the saddle. They're all different in the motorcycle you're riding, or it doesn't matter really. Just escape, just get out of the house, put your gear on. And if you can spend a night, honestly, under the stars, if you can camp out, I just feel that there's nothing like it. Or you just stay somewhere random, some random B&B, some random wherever, or you've got no plan. I love having no plan. Just riding until I'm tired and
I miss
when
those days. That's how I used to tour. Me and my mates, that's how we used to tour. We'd book the first night somewhere in France, say, and you'd just get the ferry or the tunnel across into France. You go there, and then we just winged it for like a week or 2 weeks, however long you were away. God, I miss that. Can't do that anymore with punters.
The winging it is the best bit. That's what a real adventure is for me.
Totally.
And that's why I always have a tentative A to B. It's just like, some people really want to know what they're doing. Like, what are we doing at 10:30? What am I doing at 11:30? What? I have not got a clue, But like, I know where we're heading. So like, let's just go and enjoy ourselves. And if we want to stop somewhere, go stop. And if you're hungry, let's go and eat. And if, like, it's a bit more random and just kind of free spirited. And I feel that I love that on a motorcycle, really,
Yeah, I managed to do it a couple of years ago for the first time in years, and a mate of mine lived over in Austin, in Kentucky, just north of Kentucky. What's the state just above Kentucky? I flew into Cincinnati and I went west to his place, and he had a Triumph, a spare Triumph. So he was just like, "Look, get your flight over here. The bike's yours. Off you pop." So that's what I did. Just literally, did the old, paid my taxes at end of January and had a little bit of money left in the pot. And it was like, oh, happy days. Booked some flights, flew over there, picked his bike up. And I think I had 10 days or maybe 2 weeks, just nothing planned at all. And I just went south, sort of a big clockwise, big circle route, all down into Appalachia, like West Virginia, then North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, through into Tennessee, and it was awesome. What a time. So good for the soul, just to be out riding yourself again and no idea where I'm going. You get to a town, it's like, this'll do. Where can we stay here tonight? Oh, I missed it. I really did miss that. It was awesome. Loved it.
Yeah. Riding a motorcycle and winging it is just the best thing. Yeah. It really is. I've never got to a place where I've never found myself in any kind of really desperate situation. I found myself in some kind of like, looking back now, like laughable situations, or climbing into some bed that's so random you can't even believe where you are. Those are just kind of fun things, because you would have never booked that. You would have never booked this, whatever random place you're staying in, because you just happened to just fall upon it, And I love that. I love that about motorcycle travel. And if you've got your tent and a sleeping bag, You've
Yeah.
always got a good backup. You know what I mean? If you take your tent and your sleeping bag with you, and you're looking to stay maybe, somewhere a little bit more comfortable, and at least, get a bathroom and a shower in the morning or something, But, yeah, just winging it. I enjoy that too.
Where's the most random place you've ever ended up for the evening? Bear in mind your wife could listen to this at a later date, Jamie.
Yeah. What in terms of location?
Just like the most random thing.
Yeah, I once went. I went adventure riding in the Sequoia National Forest, and just had no idea really where I was going to go and what I was going to do, and just happened to bump into this. Yeah, I happened to bump into somebody who told us that there was like a stream and you could, water slide down this stream. So we thought, oh yeah, well, let's go there. So we got to this stream and there was a guy, like smoking a joint and just really hippie-ish and just kind of like, and he just said to me, he was like all about nature and stuff. And he was just like, oh, if you want a really kick-ass camping spot, there's a big rock. He said, but there's a certain way to get there, and the camping spot's here, and that's legal. So you've kind of got to go up there at night, and oh my God, we just found ourselves on top of this incredible. I can't remember what they called the rock now, just overlooking the Sequoia National Forest. It was a beautiful, clear night, and stars out, and we had a bottle of whiskey. It was pretty damn good. Yeah.
Awesome.
And
awesome.
So that springs to mind. Some super random places I found myself in Europe. I can remember being in France and it raining all day, and me thinking, I'm in France. I came to France. I thought it was going to be warm and sunny, and it's just like British weather, like, and just being like really kind of fed up. And I was cold, and it rained all day, and I just had enough. And I didn't know where I was, and I hadn't got to where I wanted to get to. And I kind of just pulled off this kind of road, and it was already dark. I'd already left it too late. And I came into this village, and I didn't really know. I just ended up just putting up my tent like in this random kind of spot, this random piece of grass. I was just tired at the time, and just fatigued, and it was raining as well. And I didn't have much time to put my tent up. You know what I mean? I was just, anyway, during the night, I don't know, I'd not been in there long, and I heard this massive, like almost like I thought a car was going to crash into me. You know what I mean? And then I'm pretty sure that it was just a drunk driver. And then, random other stuff. And then I woke up to like a bus, and I was just like, oh my God, like, where am I? And when I opened my tent, I had literally just plonked up at a bus stop in this random village in France. And yeah, right near a pub as well. So that's probably where it probably was a drunk driver. So yeah, just random stuff like that kind of springs to mind. But I never really bothered where I've been able to spring my tent up as long as I felt safe. Oh yeah, that makes me go on to another story. Is when I first arrived here in the US, I bought a bike for $200 in New York, and I rode it across America. Mm-hmm. And that was my first go at documenting my travels and having a go at journalism and photography and everything. So it was kind of like a random trip I did. And then it got me a job actually at a magazine, because I sent in my story to this magazine and they loved it. And then they gave me a job as an editor, and I had to start in the new year. And just before the new year, I decided, right, I'm going to go and do this winter trip and do something more, another exciting trip on this random $200 motorcycle that still had the same tires on. It was so dodgy. Anyway, I set off on Christmas Eve, and it's because I was by myself, and it was kind of like, I just thought, well, there's no point in me just sat at home on Christmas Day by myself. I might as well be on my motorbike, right? So yeah. I got on my motorbike, and for some reason I set off north, which I was only going to get colder. And I woke up on Christmas Day absolutely freezing my tits off somewhere in Cambria, at the start of Highway 1 near Big Sur. And I was frozen already. And then I rode all that day. And by the end of it, I got all the clothes on that I'd even packed. I'd laid them up and I got all the clothes on. I got about 4 pairs of socks on, so many socks on that I couldn't even get them into my shoes anymore. I got plastic bags around my feet. I got plastic bags around my hands. I was absolutely frozen to death, right? And this is only day 2.
And, whose idea was this?
Yeah, it was a bright idea. This was on Christmas Day, so I'd absolutely frozen myself. And then I pulled over somewhere random. I'd nearly got out of California, but I hadn't quite. And I pulled over somewhere just near the Klamath River. I was absolutely frozen to death. And I started to I went down this kind of road, and, you know, I saw a few buildings, and I don't know. I just thought, this is a good spot. I'll put my tent up here. So I started putting my tent up. And then I heard something like a rustle, and I didn't like what I saw. And then next minute, my headlamp, I'm just looking everywhere, you know. Yeah. And, dude, a pair of eyes looked back at me, and they were at the same height as me.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God, dude. I put that tent down as fast as I could. I was so scared. I put that tent down as fast as I could, got back on my motorcycle, and got the heck out of there. And I razzed up the road a bit. And then I came to a farm. And I thought, okay, I'm next to a farm. I don't know what happened there, but I'll just put my tent up here next to this farm. As I'm putting my tent up, I woke the dog of the farm. So the dog starts barking. Then the lights come on of the farm, and I'm like, oh, no. You know, and it's already late at night, and I'm cold.
Dungarees and a shotgun.
I'm not in the mood, really. So I put my tent up, and as I've got my back to the farm and I'm putting my tent up, this guy comes up to me with a shotgun, and he's like, what are you doing? I was, no, I'm here on a motorcycle, you know, and he goes, well, you're putting your tent back. And so right where I was just where this bear's.
Is that what the eyes were? Is that what the eyes were? That were?
Yeah.
Oh,
so he
you're lucky.
Went on to tell me that there's a bear that had got trapped, and he said, "Yeah, well, there's a bear down here that's got trapped. It got trapped when the floods got too high, the rivers hasn't been able to get back across, and so there's a bear down here." And anyway, he felt something then put me up in the trailer.
Wow.
And so he was like, he had a trailer park. It was actually a farm / kind of like our park, and he had so he put me up in a motorhome, and dude, it did not stop raining then for like 2 days. Unbelievable. I'd never seen rain like it. And we were right by Klamath River, and I went up onto the Klamath River just to get some shots, and there was houses coming down the Klamath River, just straight out the bridge and out to the estuary and into the ocean, like a big barns and everything. I'd never seen anything like it, man. It's like, where am I? Yeah. So anyway, that was the end of my winter trip. I didn't go much further north after that. I was like, I'm done. I'm cold. I'm wet. I'm miserable. So
you're talking about bears there. Have you ever heard the story about the Japanese biker in Russia? Do you ever hear? It was like, have you been to Russia? Have you travelled Russia?
No.
It was like I crossed Russia 2013, I think it was, maybe end of 2012, 2013. I crossed Russia, and it was like this story that all the Russian bikers would tell you, because I just had a tent on my bike, and you know, you just pitch your tent wherever. And they were like, no, you know, if the people don't kill you, the bears will. And like everyone's scared of their neighbor. Like in Moscow, they think anyone 50 miles east of Moscow is a lunatic. And then you get 50 miles east and they think the next lot, you know, the reality is people are just awesome everywhere. People were just really warm and welcoming. And I loved Russia. Amazing place. Anyway. The story they tell you about is this Japanese biker was traveling across Russia and he was camping, but he disappeared and nobody knew what happened to him. And one day, some people came across what was left of his camp, and it was a tent that had literally just been ripped to bits, and then bits of body were in it. But there was also a camera. And when they looked at the camera, this could be an old wives' tale, don't know, but the last shot apparently on this camera, if you imagine lying in your tent, looking at your feet in the door of the tent, and this blooming brown bear, this bear was coming in. And that's the last shot, apparently. And that's the story the Russians love to tell you as you're crossing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, yeah, I mean, it's real. I mean, when the guy said to me, bears, I'm like, bears? What are you on about? You know what I mean? I'm from home Firth. What are you on about? Bears. But like, yeah, it's real. It really is real. And, you know, camping in certain areas, I've had to be careful what I leave in my tent, food-wise. It's better it stays on the bike. You know what I mean? And if a bear's interested, it's going to the bike and not into my tent to find my beef jerky. Yeah.
I'm laughing because a pal of mine, Boasty, was back over. He emigrated to Canada about 10, 15 years ago, but he was back over about a month or two ago and went to meet him for a few beers. And we got chatting, and he lives just on the north side of Vancouver up in Canada. And we got chatting about stuff, and, you know, in our eyes, this place is just heaven. It looks amazing. But for him, he's like, it is amazing, but he said, all I've got is bloody mountains and trees. So he says, you go hiking in the mountains, you can't see anything because you're just surrounded by trees. You get to the top of the mountain, you're still in the trees, so you can't even get a view. And he said, in the whole way, you're looking for bears. And I was like, what? Is it that bad with bears? And he went, have a look at this. So he showed me some video footage of him like trying to scare a big brown bear out the back of his garden. He's on the deck at the back of his house, and his missus is filming him while he's throwing everything he can possibly find at this bear, trying to get it to shoo off. This thing was like a Volvo. It was huge. And he was like, yeah, that's kind of what we have. You get foxes, they get bears. Bloody hell.
Yeah. No, it's real. No, camping out is really real in America. You got to really think about like where you are and what exists around us.
What was the question? Oh yeah, balancing family life and stuff. Yeah, it's hard, mate. It's just hard.
Yeah. It is hard, but it's necessary. So got to go do it.
Have a chat with your missus, your family, and you know, it's going to be a bit of give and take, pal, isn't it? Really, you just have to figure out the best solution for you and your circumstances. Really.
Yeah, I always feel like it's also really just hard to get out the door and do it. But once I've got my helmet on and I'm gone, I'm fully committed. But it's really hard to get away. Yeah. It's really hard to get out to really do it, especially, you know, when you've got a family and stuff. But once you're on the road, commit yourself and just concentrate on that, you know.
Yeah. There's no point in making that sacrifice, is there? And your missus being at home and wishing that you were there, and then you not making use of the time that you've got. So make use of that time when you do have it.
Yeah, make the most of it. Yeah.
Right. Next one, Andy. Evening, gents. Hope this finds you well. All good, thank you, Andy. You both have a life that many envy, but rarely take what you do. What do you see? Sorry. You both have a life that many envy, but rarely take what do you see as the difference that you have versus the onlookers? I don't get that. You both have a life that many envy, but rarely take what... I think that must be take what you do, not do you see as the difference that you have versus the onlookers. I don't understand the question, Andy.
Well, I think it's probably more what's behind the scenes. What do we go through that he doesn't, that the onlook, you know, the viewers don't see? We have a life that many envy from our videos, but it's like what goes on behind the scenes. And I think it's a mixture of those two things that we've just said, is family life, and then having, you know, putting all of the production together and having that balance. I feel like for me, when I've been putting my adventure together or filming, to be really honest with you, I'm not enjoying the adventure because I'm having to stop all the time to get the shot, right? So even though my videos are very fluid and we're always riding, that's not how a MotoGeo adventure actually is put together. It's incredibly stop-start, and we don't go very far very quickly, sometimes for hours. We just get in corner by corner and another vista, we just keep stopping, and we don't even get half as far as what we've planned on getting, and we've only had a rough A to B, and so there's a lot behind the scenes. I've had quite a lot of people who want to come on a MotoGeo adventure because they see it as all as riding these fantastic places, and then when they're actually a part of the production, they never want to do that again because we never get going, because we have to film what we class as, the best riding or the best bits or whatever. So when you're doing that, you are literally stopping. And when you've got a cameraman, which I work with a cameraman, and sometimes it's by drone, and, there's a lot of communication back and forth. There's a lot of stop start. Yeah. You're barely getting going, and then you're stopping, and then you're filming something else. So it's actually a lot of stop start, and it's a lot more exhausting, or it has been for me. The higher the production level, the more exhausting it all gets, because you're just doing more things at a higher level. I don't do a lot of putting my mic in my helmet and just recording from my helmet. A lot of mine is third person. So there's a lot of stop start in that by getting the other person involved.
But it's so worth it in terms of the end result, isn't it? Like I very rarely do that, where I set a camera up and do the ride by, generally because I'm always away with customers, and it's not, you've got mileage that you need to eat up, and as you say, you can't do that when you're doing all that. But it really, the times that I have done the odd little bit of off bike, like B-roll type stuff, it doesn't half make the final edit that little bit better, doesn't it? It just elevates things massively when when you have all that extra content.
My biggest challenge is actually to click by the miles and capture the production. And it's been a couple of challenges I've had with Ducati when I've done some adventures with Jason Chinnock, and he's very ambitious, is Jason, and he likes to be able to get from A to B today. This is what I want to do. Can you do it? Well, I can, but with these certain times I've got to stop and film. It's a challenge sometimes to do those when you're not even filming. So it's just like, how the heck do we do it and film? It's a challenge. That's when the team needs to really be able to move quickly, and it's hard to have that high production and moving quickly. It's a challenge. There's a lot behind the scenes in my videos that you don't see, and that's just because I've got more of a production. I took it upon myself for whatever reason to be not doing it just solo, to try and put more of a production together, and that just takes time and effort.
Absolutely. But it's definitely worth it. People. Well, Scottish.
I come for free, pretty much. You might, but I have to pay other people.
How do you find something like, I went full time at this in 2020. I can't remember if I said before, I used to be a copper, and I took the leap and resigned literally a month before COVID to do this and my tours, and then the world shut down. But I'm living my dream, but it's hard. It's hard to keep the passion sometimes, because the passion becomes the job, and I think a couple of times I've found myself forgetting that I'm living the dream, and you have to I have to remind myself sometimes. A lot of people out there would give the back teeth to have this job. So do you ever face that? I know you said sometimes you found your love of biking waning, and you had to do things to reinvigorate that.
Yeah. Well, I started my channel because I want to inspire people to ride. And so if I'm not feeling it, how am I going to get that message across to my audience, right? And I think that there is it's the difficulty with any passion. I mean, I started racing motorcycles because I loved riding motorcycles, and then racing, and then suddenly racing became a job. It became a lot more serious and a lot less enjoyable. And so there is always that balance, I think, that when you take on a hobby to become your profession, that there is always going to be that kind of tour back and forth, that you're maybe certain things are waning, and things aren't as enjoyable. but it's because it's work, and work's not supposed to be enjoyable either, right? So,
yeah, that's right.
Oh, so they say. we definitely do as a best job that we can of making it. So, and I think that it's just having that balance. And also, I feel like I was only riding as well a lot of the time when I was working. So, all of these stop-start adventures I was going on, eventually, I wasn't enjoying any of them because I wasn't riding.
Yeah.
And so, I've got to find time to ride myself, actually. I've got to just go ride, and I love that now. I really do just find time. Even if it's just an hour or so, I'll just go and ride by myself, not with anybody, not with any motive, not with anything in mind. Just go and ride, and it frees my mind up a lot more of the reason why I my love for motorcycles. Because it's difficult if every time you jump on your motorcycle, it's for a reason, for a job, for a work. It becomes that, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And it's amazing just what positive effect just an hour can have on the bike. Because my missus used to say to me, why don't you just pop out for an hour or two? And in my head, I'm like, no, that's not a bike ride. If I'm going out on a bike, I'm out for the day, and you want to get a couple 100 miles under your belt. But just disappearing for an hour, God, it
doesn't take long. It doesn't
No.
actually take long. I can go for 10 minutes, and I'm just like, whoa. In fact, it's straight away when you ride, the feeling straight away, because it takes all your concentration.
Yeah.
And because it takes your concentration, you're in that zone immediately. And so it doesn't take long. It really doesn't. And so, I encourage it whenever you can get on your bike.
Don't need telling twice. Second question from Andy. Jamie, your life has taken you all over the world, but if you had to choose one location to spend the rest of your life in, where would it be and why?
Wow. Very difficult question. It's a difficult question because I love motorcycles, that I want to ride them every day, and being in good weather really helps. So I love the UK, but when it comes to riding, I did 12 months of riding in the UK. It was brutal, man. It was brutal. I can't
If it's
believe
not
how
shit weather,
difficult-
it's terrible traffic.
Oh my God, I can't believe how difficult it was to get through those winter months. That was the only time I've ever stopped at the side of the road, took off my gloves, and I needed a pee. And I started peeing, and I saw all this steam coming off my hand, off the ground, and I was like, "I'm having that." And I just peed on my hands, and it was so good. And I just peed all over my hands, to warm my fingers up. And I'm not joking, it was such a good experience. And I was just
I've heard about people like you, Jamie.
Yeah, I was so cold, dude. I was so cold. So anyway, it's the only time I pissed on my own hands and actually enjoyed it. But so I don't know. I do really enjoy California because it has a mixture of everything, really kind of quickly. But and one of my favorite places in California is Yosemite.
Yeah,
I get this feeling when I go there. It's very tranquil and hard to get to, and a gem when you get there, and that's also quite rewarding. You know what I mean? When it's an effort to get to a place, but goddamn, it's worth it when you get there.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, for me, I think it would be America for me. I love the States. I would move there in a heartbeat if I could. If my missus was up for moving there, I would. And I really, I travelled all over the States, and I really, really liked the South. I loved like Texas, Louisiana, Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina, all around. I just loved that bit down there. That's
a lot of the US. I've been here 15 years, and there's so much of the US I've not seen. And then when you speak to people in the USA, hardly any of them have even left the state, let alone explored America.
Yeah.
And there's so much to it. Every state is almost like a different country. It's like going through Europe and going through Holland and Germany and France and Spain and into Italy. And all of those countries are different, right? And it's almost the same here. Every state has a different feel about it, has a different look to it. It's just a different place. The only common thing is that everyone still speaks English, which just then makes it easy, doesn't it? It makes America
of some form or another. Yeah,
it makes it, at least you can get around. But also, I don't know. I mean, I think if I had to pick one place, then that would be, I'd still be in California, I think.
Mm. Yeah.
But I don't know. It's difficult to pick one place, as a traveler. I love Asia too, though. I mean, good grief, it's so much fun riding a motorcycle in Asia.
Yeah. You've done Thailand, haven't you?
Yes. Yeah, I love Thailand.
I loved Thailand. Was obviously Thailand is the Thailand a lot of people think about, for sure, if you go to those places, for sure. But there's so much to see in Thailand, like, especially when you go up to like the Golden Triangle up in the sort of northwest, all up around Chiang Mai and all these places.
I only know Thailand for one thing, and that's just, great riding, great people, great food. Honestly, it's just a great experience. And I landed in Chiang Mai, and then my first experience was to ride the Road of 1,000 Corners. And if anybody gets the chance to ride to Chiang Mai, hire a motorcycle and ride the Road of 1,000 Corners, you won't stop smiling for like 3 days. I mean, it was unbelievable. And I fell in love with Thailand immediately after that,
Did you go to what's the bike pub called in Chiang Mai? Is it the Biker's Rest? There's like a biking mecca, this place. I think he's a Safa.
Is it like connected to a Triumph dealership as well? Is that the one?
I was there sort of 2013. So it was just it was just a bar, and the guy had loads of motorbikes in there and loads of motorcycle paraphernalia. He had like Dakar bikes in there. He had all sorts of stuff. It was just it was a biking mecca, people.
Yeah. Yeah. I was over there when they had the gentleman's ride. The gentleman's ride that they have?
Yeah.
And that was just crazy. I mean, we just took over Chiang Mai, really.
Wow.
So, super fun. It's just, I just think that, it's just a great country, great people. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't cost an arm and a leg, which is another plus towards it in terms of it just being an awesome experience, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Right, next one, Matt Rowe Designs. How you doing, Matt?
Oh, yeah.
There we go, yeah. Matt's part of the reason why we're doing this, actually. I think he was speaking to you, wasn't he? And he was speaking to me. And,
he was telling me I should get on your show. I said,
cheers, don't worry. Matt. Thanks very much, pal. Right, Matt says, hey dudes, question for Jamie. Where and when can we get our hands on some of your latest merch? Oh, he doesn't miss a trick, does he? He does not miss a trick.
Very soon, coming soon. In fact, I'll make it happen right now. Okay, how's that? I honestly, while I was getting back from my injuries and everything, I just took some time to really just kind of reset. And also, reset MotoGeo a bit, like you were saying earlier, is just, it was difficult to be injured and be working. And so anyway, I'm back fit and healthy again now. So we'll get that sorted, Matt. Promise you.
Happy days. He's got a little bird informed me you've both worked with a prestigious graphic designer. One more question, if not asked already. What was it like during the LA fires where your home and family were at risk and you stepped up to become a local motorcycle firefighting hero? Is there content coming on this? Well, I think we've covered that, haven't we?
I mean, really, I don't feel like I was any kind of motorcycling firefighting hero. I just kind of, it was more that I was just trying to assist, right? And I was trying to help. But I didn't take my camera with me during most of it, or at least the bits that would be of most interest to people, because I was just there doing it, right? So in the first 2 days, I never even thought of leaving the house with my telephone or with the camera. Mm-hmm. And the cell reception had been turned off around here, so I just left everything at home because there was no point in me taking it,
Yeah.
And then it was only when I took my phone somewhere and I rode around, and then suddenly I got on somebody else's cell service, and I got like so many messages. I couldn't believe how many messages I got. That was the reason then I started making some videos and posting it, because I couldn't reply to everyone. And it was just like easy if I just posted something to Instagram,
Yeah.
But yeah, kind of like what's come from that is something for the future. So watch this space. Motorcycles to the rescue.
Man, that genuinely sounds really quite exciting, quite really interesting. Like it's something new, it's something fresh, and it's a really good positive message about bikes.
Well, honestly, I can't wait to get motorcycles into a space where they can be seen to be of some use, right? For whatever reason at this moment in time, everyone just sees motorcycles being dangerous and nuisance. So I'm an avid motorcyclist. I'll do everything that I can to portray motorcycles in a positive manner. And this is a place where we can help. I mean, even if you don't like motorcycles, you've got to look at this and go, oh yeah, there's a really great use for a motorcycle here.
Absolutely.
You know? And then the way that e-bikes are coming on and people are just getting around the city. I mean, two-wheel transportation is taking off. And so there's a whole new generation coming up behind us that are back riding again. And so that's good. It's good to see.
Is that booming in the States then? Because in the UK, we're still kind of struggling, really, to get the younger generation into bikes.
It's stemming off from city centres being so gridlocked, I think, and people just. I think this whole next generation who are, believe it or not, not drinking because it's unhealthy and not doing things that, you know, maybe generations in front of them have done before. And I see in Austin, everyone was just ripping around the city centre on those little bird scooters. Sorry. And so that's also, you know, they're on two wheels. And then that progression up from that, a lot of people are on these e-bikes these days, these mountain bikes. And so they're not that far away from a motorcycle when you're ripping around on an e-bike. So, yeah, I see transportation just changing a lot. I see people all the time just, you know, more riding than I've seen in a long time. Maybe not necessarily a motorbike. So we've got to get motorcycles up there in the, you know, like I said again, you know, motorcycles coming to the rescue, the opposite of what they do in Hollywood.
Yeah, brilliant. Can't wait to see it. Next one, Patrick Collum. Evening, gents. Hope you're both well. So a split question, if I may. First to a former racer. Does anything ever replace the buzz of racing and living on the edge? Chasing fires, doesn't it?
I'd say pretty much no. No. You never find that same buzz that speed gives you. I mean, I was just on a racetrack at the weekend, and when you're doing nearly 200 mile an hour, there's just nothing like it. When you just brake at the last possible second before destruction, there's no feeling like it. When you flick it into a corner on a pair of slick tires and get the incredible grip to rip around a car, there's no feeling like it. No.
What's...
But when I was going on my adventure, I filled a great void that speed had left, right? Because speed just creates I don't know, the world's going by at a whole different pace when you get used to speed. So it's difficult to replace that because everything else just feels slow and boring. However, when I went on my motorcycle adventures and travel, that was really rewarding. So it filled a big void.
What can I ask about, like, your experience, short circuit racing and road racing at the TT? Is that at all comparable? At all?
No. Riding a motorcycle. Yeah. The two so different. I mean, you can get used to certain things on track, which is, you know, leaning over, braking, speed, getting your mind up to speed so that when you finally get on the road, it's not just a total warp speed. And because it's already faster and you can't make a mistake and things are very close. So it's insanely fast as it's all going by. So getting your mind up to speed and just getting your technique down is those are the similarities. However, you never lean a bike over around the TT like you do around, and so, you know, you know, in terms of speed and the bike leaving the ground and jumping and the bumps, and that's only ever found on a road track. It's not found on a racetrack. If you found stuff like that on a racetrack, you wouldn't be going back. You'd be like, you know, you go on a racetrack and it's the smoothest place you've ever been. And if there's a ripple, people complain about it, you know, and the whole Isle of Man's one big ripple. There's no smooth bit on the Isle of Man, you know. So it's
I thought Cotta was quite bumpy, isn't it? Circuit of the Americas. Is that not quite bumpy? Or have they
oh my God,
it's
smooth as silk. Well, I don't know what they're complaining about.
Yeah. It's funny that like
differences there. Just getting up to speed though, getting your mind up to speed. I think that's what short circuits help with.
Yeah. Watching your eyes as you started talking about the TT, it's funny because so many people, so many racers that I've spoken to, if they've got experience of the TT, whenever they start speaking about it, they've all got the exact same look as you. You're a bunch of crack addicts, a lot of you.
Yeah, it's real.
Right, Patrick says, second question. If you could get the Almighty to hardwire either of your fine selves with a natural ability to perform a task, what would it be? For example, mine would be to learn languages far faster. Okay. Any ability, what would you have?
Any ability.
Natural ability, he says. Right.
Yeah. I've got 2 left feet, can't speak another language, and so yeah, I suppose there could be quite a few things there. I can't play a musical instrument. I mean, I can't surf. I mean, where do we start?
Have you tried all of them then? And just given up?
Yeah. I suppose there's also got to be a certain amount of enjoyment in learning as well, hasn't there? You know.
Yeah.
So I suppose, I don't know. Other than that, it'd be nice to speak lots of multiple languages, but I've never been able to master it.
I struggle with English, man. I would love to be able to pick up languages the way some people do. I go to Spain quite a lot with the tours, Spain and France, and I can just get by with pidgin French, very, very, very basic French from a time at school. But my Spanish is literally, you know, dos cerveza, por favor. That's pretty much it.
Hey, that's all you need to know, mate.
Yeah. I need to up the game.
It's amazing. Some sign language, kind of, you know, pointing at what you want, you can get away with it.
I tell this story from a world trip from Russia where I was filling up with fuel at a petrol station, and this guy came over and started chatting away in Russian. So, you know, I basically said, English, and he was like, English? I said, well, Scotia, Scotland, Scotia. And he's like, Scotia, whiskey, all this sort of stuff. Okay, they all know that. And I had a map on the back of my lid, so I, pointed on my lid and showed him where I was from and where I was going and stuff. And he sort of did that, like home, sleep, like that. So I just pointed at the tent in front of my bike and pointed at the field. And he was like, no, like this, follow. So I just followed him, and we end up like in this little, just outside this little village hamlet on the edge of some like woods almost. And he had like a wooden shack. So I'm going into this wooden shack, and you can see the little chimney with the smoke coming out of it. And by that point, you just roll with it. It's like, fuck it, let's see what happens. So, I just followed this random Russian guy into some forest, into a wooden shack. We go in, and there's his missus, and she's literally at the sink, like preparing food and doing dishes. And she sort of turned and looked at me and smiled, and then looked at him and plainly said, "What you doing? Who's this?" kind of thing. So they had a little chat, and then she sat me down, and then she got me like a bowl of borscht, which is like their stew, and had some of that, and then the vodka comes out. And literally, I spent the evening with this couple in their home, and I slept there that night. We had a whole night of conversation where they didn't speak any English and I didn't speak any Russian, but we got by. You just get by with stuff. And it's a memory that's like stayed with me to this day. It was fantastic.
Yeah. No, you'll find that around the world, won't you? I've done the same. I found myself in precarious positions in many countries, and you don't speak a word of their language, but it's amazing what you can do with a bit of sign language and some alcohol.
Absolutely. And yeah, alcohol always helps. Fluent in any language you like with some alcohol. But I always say to people, you know, like, people are good, man. Like, we are fed this bullshit from the media about they're the enemy and they're the enemy. It's all shite. You get wrong-ins. Obviously, you get wrong-ins. Yeah. But I can go 2 miles down the road into the town down here and there's wrong-ins. You get wrong-ins everywhere. Most people are just brand new people. They're like us. They want to look after their family and they'll help you if they can, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. No,
anyway, people will be bored of me saying that on here.
No, but it's true. And the more that you travel and you experience that, then it makes you realize that, oh yeah, there's good people everywhere.
Yeah, definitely.
And the world is a good place.
Yeah, yeah. We're perhaps not as screwed as we're led to believe yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's frightening when you watch the news, right? But I don't know. It's all bad news, isn't it? They never tell you any good news of what's going on. So it's all negative, and negativity feeds more negativity. So it's really easy to get kind of like, oh my God, we can't travel here and we can't travel there and we can't do this and the world's going to come to an end. And no, it's not. Just get on your motorbike, go for a ride. It'll be all right.
That's it. I'm into that. Right, next one. Michael Heaton. Jamie is one of the coolest guys around and the Freedom Machine is such a good film. Has the tank rusted through on the Ducati Scrambler yet? And did Yamaha get upset about you pulling the T7 apart? And why do you treat bikes so bad, Jamie? There's a few questions for you there.
Yeah, well, fair point. No, I still got the Scrambler. Gas tank's still fine. Still rusted, but looks great. Yamaha didn't get upset about the T7 because I ended up buying it off them. And I've still got it. And that's going to be one of the motorcycles I'm going to create into like a fire motorcycle because I've got the T7, which is perfect. And then why do I treat bikes so badly? Yeah, I honestly... this is a terrible thing to say, but I just love riding them and I hate working on them, you know. And then I always like things just to be individual. And so taking my angle grinder to my Ducati Scrambler just seemed like a very kind of unique thing to do. So I did it. And I don't know, I've not regretted it, to be fair. I've taken my angle grinder to quite a few of my bikes and never regretted it in one bit. So, you know.
Stickers, Jamie. Most people put stickers on their bike.
I'm just not into kind of bling. You know what I mean? If it's clean and new, I don't know. So I got a hat the other day, and the first thing I did is threw it on the floor and just scrubbed it on the floor and then bent it and then put it on my head. You know what I mean? It's just...
You'll love my Gixxer there, my Gixxer Thou. That's the bike I took on the world trip. And she's got just over 100,000 miles on her, and she is... battered, but I will never. I've never washed her. I'll never ever change. It's just. You know. Yeah. She's got the scars. She's earned them, so she's got them. Yeah,
absolutely. I feel that about my riding gear too. As my riding gear gets older and more used, it usually gets better looking. Some people say to me, "How do you get that jacket looking so good?" I'm like, "I've slept in it. I've puked in it. I've rode all day in it. I've partied hard in it. You name it, I've done it in this. That's why it looks so good, because I lived in it for months. And when you're on the road times for weeks.
Oh, I just lost your audio there. Oh, you're back now. You're back.
Yeah.
The jacket ends up with its own sort of story, doesn't it? It's got its own life story to tell. Right.
Absolutely.
Next one, Dave Hemmings. Hi, I hope you're both well. This question is to the both of you. You have an unexpected day off. The weather is good. What are you going to fill the day with? It doesn't have to be bike related. Well, it would be bike related though, I think. If I've got a day off, I'll be on the bike.
Yeah, a day off. Yeah, motorcycle, burger, for sure. That's it. That's it in a nutshell. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take off on my motorcycle and I'm going to have a burger somewhere.
Where do you go then? Where do you go on the bike?
Well, I mean, if it's a quick ride around here, Topanga's, I mean, I live in the hills of Topanga, so I've got access. I'm going right out of my door.
Oh.
And then I could quickly then just head straight up into the Santa Monica Mountains and drop down then into Malibu. So there's an array of places I can hit there on around here. So I'm quickly into some good roads around here, and then also there's quite a few places in Topanga that do a good burger as well. So I can just ride around and find myself back into my hometown and get a burger right back in town. So all good.
Where did it all go wrong, Jamie?
In what way?
You're living the dream, man. You're absolutely living the dream. Yeah, for me, Dave, I would just go. I mean, I live 40 miles from Folkestone, from the tunnel. So yeah, get up nice and early, jump on the bike, tunnel across into France, see where the wind takes me. Just, yeah, try and eat as much of France and Belgium, Luxembourg as I can. Maybe pop into Germany if I can, and yeah, maybe well, you can't even you can't ride at the ring anymore, can you? I was going to say ride to the Nürburgring and do a lap, but yeah, they've stopped bikes.
That would be nice.
Yeah, they've stopped bikes now. Yeah.
Really? Why is that?
Political. I think what the reasoning behind it, I think, was that they were saying there were far too many stoppages caused by bikes having accidents. But I think
they've just got to do biker days, because at the end of the day, from some of the footage I've seen, those motorcycles are tipping over and they're not even going fast, and there's no reason for them to crash. So I was thinking that there's got to be something down on some of those corners, or
a lot of the time it's oil.
Surface.
Yeah, it's oil from cars.
Yeah, there you go. So they've probably just got to do some mixing bikes and cars together is never a good idea either.
Yeah.
You're going at different speeds, and
absolutely
the two just don't mix. One has corner speed, doesn't really, and I don't know. This is a bad mix, man.
Have you ever done it? Have you ever done the Nürburgring?
No. It sounds like I'm not going to be able to either now. So,
well, I reckon they might. I think they might open it to like bike only evenings or weekends or something.
Yeah.
I can't. I hope they don't just stop it altogether and that's it forever. I've done 2 laps and it's the closest thing I'm ever going to get to racing, and it's just the buzz. God knows what it feels like to actually properly race, on circuit and on.
Well, you should do it. Get on your bucket list. You never taught to race.
Mate, I'm almost 21 stone. I'm such a fat knacker. No. I like a track day.
Gotta go race. It's always fun to race.
Right. Last one from the clan. Ash Wright. How you doing, Ash? Evening, guys. Big fan of Jamie's. I've always been in awe of his riding ability. My question. We all know Jamie loves a burger, so where is the best burger he's ever had?
Good grief. Best ever. I did an adventure in Albany, New York. It's just going to be coming out actually, and I had some amazing burgers on that trip, and they were all like farm to fork.
Oh wow!
They were all really pretty exceptional, and so I've got to say, like right now, I'm leaning towards those, but those are the ones that I've just literally been working on that video, and I've seen those burgers like every day for like weeks on end, and I'm like,
got you salivating.
I remember them. Oh dear. So that springs to mind is just the freshness of all of that, of the ingredients and the meat was just beautiful. So I'm going to say that. I'm going to say my New York adventure.
I tell you what, the Yanks do meat really well, don't they? I think it must be like the German or that sort of influence from back in the day. My God, especially in places like New Mexico, Texas, Christ, where's Louisiana, those sorts of places. Oh my God, the meat was just the barbecue was phenomenal. Loved it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why I like going to Texas every year for the Moto GP. Is that the barbecue is just on another level. Oh man, it's what they do every day. It's what they do every day is just barbecue. So you find these barbecue spots and they're just phenomenal.
Have you done that Terry Black's? That's supposed to be like the Mecca, isn't it?
It doesn't. It's not a name that springs to mind right now, but
right. I've heard loads of people talk about. I think it's Terry Black's. Or somebody Blacks anyway. Yeah. Mate, do you have time to do any questions from Instagram? I think there's about 4 or 5. You
Yeah,
sure?
let's go.
Right, awesome.
Sure.
I hope this is recorded. I really hope this is recorded. Right, so I head across to Instagram. It's just at TeapotOne Insta, and I'll leave Jamie's links all down below as well. First one, Billy for Rocks. I love this bloke. I've been a follower for years. My question, best, most memorable burger you ever ate? There we go.
Oh,
I think it's going to be a lot of burger ones.
Yeah. So that one, we just covered New York,
Yep.
but like I tell you what, some of the also great experiences is actually just grabbing that some food and making them yourself and camping out and having a delicious burger that you've made yourself, and I've done that quite a few times. Is just take the ingredients with you, and you don't know where you're going to end up, and but you're going to be in a tent, and you know that you're going to be have a little campfire going, and you're going to make yourself a burger. And I've done that a few times, and that's super rewarding too. I make a pretty good burger myself, especially with blue cheese and bacon.
Oh man, I'm so hungry.
Yeah.
It's like 7:45 here. 7:45 here on a Friday night. I'm like, oh my god.
And also, I love a fried egg on a burger too as well. And I don't know if you have them in the UK, but in camping gear, you can actually carry eggs pretty well in some camping gear.
Right.
It holds the eggs, and then you can just throw them in your backpack, and so you can really take the whole ingredients with you when you go camping. You don't have to suffer. Take the bacon, take the eggs, so you get a nice evening burger, and then you get a fry up in the morning.
I've got a couple of mates, and if we ever do manage to get away on the bikes, we'll find a pub somewhere out west or something, and just pitch the tents, and they do, find somewhere that does camping out there. And these two lads, wherever they go on the bikes, they bring an insane amount of kit they manage to pack away. And they've just got two little bikes, but they pack away massive, great big tents, inflatable double mattresses, and literally a kitchen with a sink and all sorts. Don't know where they put this stuff, but they come out and they just make these incredible dinners. You're just like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah.
No idea.
I mean, honestly, you don't have to be suffering just because you're camping. It can be a pleasurable experience. It doesn't have to be as you remember it as a kid, as your mum and dad dragging you out somewhere. You can have a nice experience, and there's a lot of really good camping stores that carry some incredible equipment these days, so that you just don't have to suffer. I mean, there's nothing better than having it all on your back or on your bike and being self-sufficient. It's a great experience.
A mate of mine, he's an ex-bootneck, ex-Royal Marine, and we were away on the bikes, and he pulled out this tiny little chair. It folded up into this tiny little package, and then when he put it all together, it was this amazing, almost reclining camping chair. But he told us, I think he spent something like 160, 170 quid on it. And we were like, oh my God, they saw you coming. As soon as he put that chair together and sat in it, we're all sat on the floor and on logs. You're just looking at like, where'd you get that chair? Buy one. So I've got one now in my garage. I think I've used it twice.
Yeah. Well, that's how you learn, isn't it? You know what I mean? It is really how you learn. There's been quite a few times I've laughed at people. Look at that. And then the next minute you're like, that's a pretty good idea, that.
Yeah.
So,
Amazon.
Yeah.
Right, next one. Go. What's that? Go for Arab Canada. Go for it Canada. People have weird usernames on socials, don't they? Oh man, I'm excited for this. You're two of my main guys that I watch. Long-time fan of both. Thank you very much. I would like to know what bike he would buy with his own money if he could only have one bike. Would it be a sport naked that could still do dirt roads in a pinch, or an adventure bike that could still do the canyons?
Oh, it's probably a very difficult question. I really love riding adventure bikes, so I think it'd have to be an adventure bike that you can just rip around the corners rather than something that rips around corners that it can take on the dirt, just because I really enjoy getting off-road, and once you get off-road, you need some decent suspension, don't you? You know what I mean? I converted my CBR, and even though I love it and it's madness, it hasn't got enough steering lock
Yeah.
I found myself in quite a bit of trouble with that thing, quite a few times, because it's got so much power.
Yeah.
And there's only so much steering into it I can do before it gets ahead of itself and I get flung off. So, but money no object. Good grief. But the beauty about motorcycles is that they're cheap and cheerful, aren't they? You know what I mean? I always feel like spending...
Not here, they're not. Jesus.
You know what I mean, though? You know what I'm trying to say? It's just like if money was
for the
no
performance
object,
you get. Yeah.
I mean, you can really get some incredible bikes. I don't know. The Ducati's always a lovely motorcycle to ride, isn't it? The Desert X, the new Desert X Rally was really, really, really good.
Not ridden that.
I really enjoyed it. Oh, my goodness. The only thing is it's really tall, so it's a bit difficult to get on, but once you're on, it was the first bit I've ridden which I didn't like. Oh my God, this feels like a middleweight, like a 700.
Yeah.
And then I also rode the Aprilia Touareg, and oh my God, that thing just feels like a dirt bike. So the adventure bikes are really starting to feel like really good off-road now. Better suspension, more travel, less weight. And when you've got a bike like that as well, they've got a good windscreen, so you can, even though I like being, going fast, my wrist after my injury, I can't spend much time now, even in the crouched position anymore.
Yeah.
It really aggravates my radius and my scaphoid. So those handlebars, when I'm sat up, are much more comfortable. So I'd definitely pick an adventure bike, I think.
And the thing is, adventure bikes these days, they've got performance for the road, which some sort of performance bike from, say, 10, 15 years ago would, you'd be hard pushed to compete, I think, with laymen, with a normal person's riding ability that's on that bike. I can go just as fast on round the bends and stuff on my big GS as I would do on my Gixxer. That's just for me personally. But yeah, you can turn off the road and go onto a trail somewhere, push a button, and boff, that's it. Off you go on the bike. And at my level, it doesn't matter if I've got a Husky 350 or the GS. I'm just paddling my way through the off-road stuff. I don't know what I'm doing with it.
But also, even just having that ability to do it opens up that gateway to a different type of motorcycling, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just being able to just take a dirt road whenever you feel like it. You've got the tyres to do it. You've got a bit of suspension to do it. You're up for it. It's really...
definitely. Freedom. Adds to the freedom thing, doesn't it? For sure.
Absolutely.
Next one, Real Schwerty. In my mind, Jamie always had more burgers than saddle time. I'd like to know if he ever wanted to do a long trip like yours, Bruce. From his vids, it looks like he mostly does day rides or a couple of days. I'd love to hear you guys talk about world traveling situations for these days. Yeah, have you ever fancied about doing disappearing for the year, 2 years?
Absolutely, but I've got commitments, so it's really difficult to do that, right?
Yeah,
I've got a family.
Absolutely.
And so I'm literally, when I started MotoGeo, I was young, free and single. Now I'm married with a kid and a home. So, right, my responsibilities changed pretty rapidly once I started MotoGeo. And with that, so did what I could do. I can do, And so I think it could be possibly something that's in my future, but I'd love to just do that with my son in the future when he's ready, and really just take him and show him and experience things together. But the longest I can really be away from my family and my home now is possibly maybe like 3 weeks to a month, and after that I'd be really pushing it anyway. So it's difficult to have those long days in the saddle with commitments back home. Yeah,
for sure. Did I see? Did your boy come out on the bike with you? Does he come out with you on the bike?
He rides on the back of me occasionally. Yeah. But as he's got older, he's got more resilient to putting gear on. Yeah. And I'm not riding anywhere without gear. You know what I mean? I'm not that kind of rider. So my son has a problem putting a helmet on or putting just protection on and stuff, and I want him to be protected. So it's got harder as he's got older. Yeah. It's just difficult to be away from home for too long when you've got commitments, isn't it?
Absolutely, and you make things work for you, don't you? So if the way you do your travel is by doing it in shorter segments, fine. You're still traveling, aren't you? You're still
to
out
be
there
honest,
doing it.
quite a lot of my sometimes 4-day adventures end up being condensed because it just takes so much time to film and to put everything together. So quite what can be a weekend has actually been 4 days on the road, and then there's probably a couple of days on either side of that. I've been away a week to put one video together. People think of it's only a weekend away, but I've gone to stop. Yeah. Sometimes there's just not enough time in the day, but in watching a video, they're like, "Oh, you only did one thing in a day, so you end up putting multiple things in a day."
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it's people. I think if you're not in this world doing this sort of stuff, I don't think people really appreciate the actual what's involved. As we discussed earlier, there's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of time, a lot of repetition. Yeah, if you do that type of thing. Absolutely. That's what I mostly just do. The moto vlog. That's mostly what I do now. Camera on my chin, camera on the handlebars, looking back at me, mic in my lid, and when I stop, put the drone up, maybe a piece to cam. Something like that. It's just real basic. I think my initial intentions was to do like proper film work, like you do, but it's just the time that's involved in it. And, it's like, I think the level of effort that was required. And then I was looking at the payoff at that time anyway, when you look and you go, well, I do all this work and you get this amount of views. Someone else has literally got a camera on their chin. That's it. And they're either doing the same amount of views or getting more. And it's like, okay, well, maybe I need to simplify things for me.
Honestly, I've tried not to get too caught up in what other people are doing.
Yeah.
Or how they do it, or even how many views they've got and how they're doing it, because you can lose yourself in that. What 100%. I try to concentrate on is just what I want to do and how I want to do it. Yeah. And then I try and pick up inspiration off other sectors of other people's work, but not necessarily anything in motorcycling. Picking up inspiration off watching other videos on all kinds of different kind of aspects of documentation, right? And and then I'll focus on that, and I just try not to get caught up in how anybody else is really getting their views or putting their production together, because I'm doing this, I'm in a great position just like you, so like why not just do it the way that I want to do it in the best way that I can.
And that keeps your interest and your passion going for it, doesn't it? Because I've fallen into the trap of looking at what other people are doing and that how many subs have I got, how many views have I got. It's just a journey to hell, that it really is, because it just screws your head up.
I don't watch a lot of other people's content really just because of that. I really don't. Staying interested. It's definitely important to see what's trending and to see what has been successful, but not necessarily me looking what's successful in motorcycling, just more broadly.
Yeah.
But it changes so quickly, and sometimes it just doesn't make any, like I said before, it doesn't have any rhyme or reason. That's sometimes why some things stick. I mean, I'm doing a lot of YouTube shorts at the moment, and sometimes you just can't believe what's taking off. But it doesn't really matter what it is, as long as it's taking off. But then there's a lot of things that are better than that don't, and it just doesn't make any sense sometimes, especially when you put in a lot of time and effort to something, and you don't get the reward, viewership back from it that you feel like it deserves. It can be certainly, it can certainly deter you from wanting to put in that kind of effort in the future. But I try not to be too deterred by views. And more on the, not really reading into too many comments either, but just seeing a general positivity of what you've done for and production wise, and that people enjoy it.
Yeah, definitely. I've said this loads of times on this podcast before. A pal of mine gave me some advice a few years ago, and it's the best advice I was ever given. He's another YouTuber, Richie Vida, and he said, just make the content you want to make and don't worry anything else about it. Just make the stuff you want to make. That's it. Because that's why we're doing it at the end of the day. We enjoy what we're doing, and you attract your crowd, don't you?
Yeah. And, like, there's always going to be other ways to do things, right? At the end of the day, I mean, I'm just trying to get people interested in motorcycles, inspire them, and to entertain them. Nothing more. And with that, I try and put together the best production that I can. This year, I'm going to be doing things a little bit differently, but the end production will be hopefully something better and bigger and longer. And
awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Look forward to it. Right, 3 more, mate. Let's do these rapid fire. Moto Rod, how many burgers a week does he eat? Burgers again.
At least one a day.
At least one a day. Lovely.
Hey, you can get a breakfast burger, a lunch burger. No,
Jamie, God bless America. Djokovic, does he miss racing, and what does he think of MotoGP today?
Yeah, of course I miss racing. Yeah. It's hard not to, right? It's something I did for a long time, and I a great passion going into it, and still to this day. And what I think about MotoGP today, I mean, it's fraught out there. I was a part of an era where there was a lot of riders who were struggling to tame those beasts of a machine, right? So Mick Doohan sometimes used to win by 20, 30, 40 seconds, I think, And now the field has really condensed. And I think that that's a great thing for the show. I really do. I think that the fact that so many motorcycles are so close in time these days in qualifying and
that's because they're all Ducatis, Jamie.
Hey, I can't even believe that they're so dominant. It was only a decade ago that no one had even get on one, right? I've only got to congratulate them and say what an amazing job Ducati have done, because it's not like they've fluked it. Because when you looked at it before, when they had Casey Stoner, they kind of fluked that one because they had.
It was like the only one that could ride it.
They had a rapid engine and a rapid rider, right? And it was just like this, and it never happened again. Everybody else had a go, but it could never happen again. So, but this time they've come in and they've done their homework, and any rider has a chance. Phenomenal! I can't believe a motorcycle manufacturer that only 15 years ago, seriously, everyone would never even believe that Ducati could be multiple 500 world champion or MotoGP world champion, would they?
God,
or if they did, the bike would be breaking down every 2 minutes because they had a really bad reliability history too, right? I mean, it just came with it. So phenomenal job that they've done. I mean, I've been so impressed with how they've taken over, really. I mean, it's been incredible. And to see the rise the rise and fall of the Japanese manufacturers in MotoGP has just been staggering. You would have never believed you would have been seeing Hondas and Yamahas at the back of the grid so quickly. No. It's astonishing. So it's
Suzuki had a little bit of a resurgence there a few years ago, didn't they? Suzuki sort of came back in.
Suzuki involved, yeah. I believe Suzuki, one of those names from past history, like that should always be there. Swans and Barry Sheen, and how could Suzuki not be in the MotoGP World Championship? I mean, God damn it, get back there, Suzuki.
Yeah,
if you're listening to this, Suzuki, get back there.
It's all money, though, isn't it, mate? All money.
Yeah. But they deserve to be there. Hopefully, they can come up with a championship that just makes it again a little more of a level playing field for all manufacturers. And it's great to see other brands involved. And Aprilia are just doing a phenomenal job. KTM are not far away. I mean, when you look at the times, it's close. And it's fun to watch. So, yeah.
I kind of got a little bit... I wasn't really following MotoGP for a few years. I think it was it last year, year before? I just started... I was following BSB more. I just found BSB more entertaining, to be honest. And then I watched... I think it was the Netflix series on the MotoGP. And I was just like, for starters, I was like, who the hell are all these like kids that have appeared out of nowhere? It's like, who are all these riders? Where's all the old school that I remember? They've all gone, and it's like a bunch of 19-year-olds turned up that were doing insane things on bikes. So I started following Moto GP again, and it's interesting, especially with the sprint races coming in. I really like the sprint races now. What do you think about the sprints? Unless that's political, if you don't want to get involved.
No, I mean, I don't care. I mean, for me, I'm a racing enthusiast, so why would I not want to watch another race? You know, so from a spectacle point of view, I'm in. I'm up for it. I'm going to see what happens. From a rider's point of view, I think it's very difficult on a weekend now because they're almost racing almost immediately. There's not a lot of setup time for the bike. And I think that's only hampering probably other manufacturers because Ducati are just in the ballpark everywhere, aren't they? So they just seem to be hitting the floor running everywhere they go. And so not having as much track time to set your bike up and fine tune it is probably hurting the other people more than it's hurting Ducati. But yeah, I mean, another race on Saturday, it's another thing to watch. But always Sunday's the big race. And I think that's always the most important. I think if they had anything, I prefer to watch 2 races on Sunday. And, you know,
World Superbikes.
Yeah, they could have one at the start, and then they'd have the Moto 3 and Moto 2 in the middle, and then another one at the end, and just shorten those a little bit. That would be super fun to watch.
I was going to say, I bet the riders would be like, "Oh, thanks very much. We've got two sessions to do." I mean,
seriously though, if you've got a good result, I mean, you're happy to go home, but if you've got a bad result, you're happy to have another race and have another crack at it, aren't you? Instead of having to wait another weekend. So, pros and cons.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Watch the space. Last one, mate. Last one. Alan B1. After watching so many hours of MotoGeo content, the first thought that comes to mind is Jamie demolishing a burger on every adventure I can remember. So, what's the right way to make a big burger? Stack it tall or smash it flat and wide? Got to end on a burger, mate.
Yeah, well, I don't think there's a right or a wrong way to make a burger. The fact that you're making one is already a thumbs up, right? So there's some great smash burgers out there that I don't know if you've seen them or had them, but they're made very quickly and they're really paper thin, and then they're crispy.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. It's another level of burger, right? So the thin and crispy is kind of like smashed, flattened, crispy, and cooked really quickly on a high heat. So it's almost like the way you'd fry an egg, right? So you're like just quick, get on with it. Same with frying bacon. So there's a place in Los Angeles, and he puts, he won't tell us the exact formula, but it's basically, he puts bacon in with his beef and grinds it, and then he smashes them.
God, I'm so hungry.
Oh no. And they're so good. And then melted cheese on top of that. And then you can even just get like a double smashed. Hard not to like or love a smashed burger. But then on the flip side, when you're stacking them and you've got a nice piece of meat there and you're going in with your blue cheese, you can't go too far wrong with that either. So I don't think there's a right or a wrong, right? It's just like enjoying a pint or a quick bottle of beer, you know what I mean? They both serve their purpose. So no Jamie, right and a wrong.
You talk about burgers the way you talk about the TT. Do you know that?
Hey, I've got a passion for them, so yeah. Maybe I should move to the Isle of Man and set up my own burger restaurant on top of the hill somewhere.
Now you're talking. Right, dude, that's all our questions. I really hope this is recorded.
Yeah, let's hope so. Fingers crossed.
I'll find out in a second. Before we go, mate, is there anything we've not covered you want to chat about? Is there any plugs you want to make? Any shout outs you want to give? Feel free.
No, I mean, for me, I'm great to be on the show. I love what you do. And, I think it's great to get that message out that motorcycling is fun and give it a go, because that's all it is. It's just, it's a really unique way of getting around. And I think once people realize that, you never go back, do you? Once you put your helmet on and you mastered the control of the motorcycle, because like when I ride now, I hopefully you're the same, but I don't really think about what I'm doing. I'm just doing it, right? I'm riding. So once you can get your riding to that ability, it's a lot of fun and a lot of freedom in it. And if you're sat in traffic and you see that motorcycle go by and wish you were him, then all I can say is go do it.
Absolutely.
Go do it.
Absolutely.
Put your car keys down and just give it a go. And it'll take a while and it'll feel weird. And it doesn't take 2 minutes to learn to ride, but just keep practicing and you'll just get better. And soon enough, you'll be out there loving it. So all I can say is, yeah, if you don't ride already and you're listening to this, start somewhere. And the sooner you can start, sooner the better.
Amen to that. Do it, folks. Do it.
Yeah.
I'll leave all Jamie's links down below for his socials, for the channel, for MotoGeo, all that. It'll all be down below. So if you're watching the YouTube vid, folks, have a look at the vid description. If you listen to a podcast on any platform, have a look at the show notes and all the links will be there.
Yeah.
Jamie,
thank you
so much for making this happen, mate. I really do appreciate it.
My pleasure. You'll have to come over when the weather's really bad in the UK and just hop over and we'll take a motorcycle and go for a ride somewhere.
You don't need to say that twice. I hope one day I'll be able to take you up on that. I would love to meet
just
you in
do
person.
that. Fly to Los Angeles and 45 minutes you'll be at my house and we'll be riding somewhere.
You might regret that. Be knocking on your door. Where's your burgers?
I've never regretted riding anywhere, so yeah, I doubt I'll regret it.
Awesome, mate. Right, thanks very much for giving me your time, pal.
Pleasure. Folks, lovely talking to you.
And you, mate, and you. Folks, hope we've enjoyed this one. Keep doing your thing. Get on out there whenever you can. Look after those that you love, but live your life. Ooh-ha. Right, dude, I'll stop that. Man, awesome.